Good evening and welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is called to order at 3:59 p.m. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Ojose, Ms. Armstrong, Dr. El Hessen, Dr. El Hessen,
Yes.
Mrs. Garza,
Present.
Ms. Stewart,
Present.
Mr. Critchfield.
Present. Thank you. Tonight we do not have requests addressing closed session agenda items. And at this time, the board will adjourn to closed session and open session will resume at approximately 6 p.m. Good evening, everyone. We'll now reconvene to open session at 6:07 p.m. to resume the regular order of business. Board Clerk Myra Garza will provide an update on closed session topics.
Thank you, President Critchfield. The topics discussed in closed session were labor negotiations, and that is it. The board took no action in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Garza. Oh, anticipated, yeah.
Sorry. We also discussed anticipated litigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. It's okay. It's all right. Replacement pages for items 11.2, 11.3, and 12.9 are on the back table over there. And tonight we do have a request to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items. I'll give you my little spiel. While meetings of the governing board are not public meetings, they are open to the public. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 21 minutes per board bylaw 9322.2. That being said, may I have Tammy Schultz to the podium, please? Welcome, Tammy. I just gotta, Tammy, if you push the little button, I think it's on the right side in the middle. Great.
Good evening. I'm here today as a mother who nearly lost her daughter.
Take your time, Tammy.
I am here today as a mother who nearly lost her daughter, Amnesis Garcia, due to severe bullying, mishandling, and negligence at Mayfair Junior Middle School. On October 6, Vinny and Natalie sent my daughter threatening texts saying that they wanted to fight her. They even showed up on our block, forcing me to intervene and tell them to leave. Since then, Natalie has continued to target Amnesis, even bringing Niall's sister and a group of girls to intimidate her further. On October 7th, I received a call from Kristen Michaud, the dean at Mayfair, accusing Amnesis of pushing someone in a fight. When I arrived, there was no documentation explaining the incident. Christine's account kept changing, and when I finally met with the principal, video evidence confirmed Amnesis' versions of events. Despite being bullied and cornered, Amnesis was punished with a 5-day suspension, while Natalie faced no consequences. Then, on October 16th, Amnesis was pulled out of class and given an additional 5-day suspension for supposed online bullying, a decision that seemed based on clear favoritism, not facts. This ongoing mistreatment has devastated my daughter's mental health. That day, feeling utterly defeated by the school's favoritism, she attempted to end her life. She sent her friends goodbye messages, feeling like no one cared. No one listened. Amnesis has been in and out of partial hospitalization programs since then, and the school is fully aware of her struggles. Yet they chose punitive measures without even notifying me as her parent, leaving me to search for her frantically with the police. This toxic environment has affected my son Randy as well. On October 1st, he was suspended after being repeatedly provoked by Niles, who was being antagonizing both him and Amnesis. Randy tried to get help from a school counselor, but the bullying continued. The situation escalated when Niall's sister cornered Amnesis in the restroom. and Randy had to alert staff before the confrontation could worsen. Adding to this turmoil, Now's mother confronted me at the school, threatening my safety. This is the extent of chaos we face, all due to the lack of intervention and accountability on the school's part. I am here to ask for your immediate action. Mayfair's failure to protect my children, to communicate with parents, and fairly address bullying that has nearly costed my daughter's life.
Was that the whole? Is there more?
Roughly a paragraph, not that much longer.
Okay, if the board has no objection, go ahead and finish.
Continue?
Thank you for supporting.
I urge you to take this seriously so that no other family suffers like ours has. As my daughter is now on home studies due to safety concerns, I am requesting that the school district provides her with additional support, including counseling and access to extracurricular activities and transportation, so that she can continue to heal and grow emotionally and academically. Thank you. Tammy Jo Garcia.
Thank you for helping with that, Stephen. And Tammy, thank you for being here and letting us know what's going on. And if we can get whatever resources we can and an update. Thank you again, Tammy. Really appreciate it.
We'll provide you an update.
Thank you. All right, do we have any corrections to the evening's agenda?
No corrections.
I would like to call Miss Tammy Zilla, Director, District Independent Study Services, to the podium to lead us in the flag salute.
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Thank you, Ms. Zilla. Okay, what do we got next? Oh, recognitions. Do we have any recognitions tonight?
We do have recognition, so if I can ask the board to come down in front of the dais, I will have Ms. Carter assist us with those recognitions.
This evening, the Board of Education is pleased to recognize teams from our district who earned the distinction of Gateway League and Mid-Cities League champions during the fall sports season. Staff and students, please join us up front as I call your names and remain for a picture. We'll first start off with representing Mayfair Girls Tennis, their coach Chris Tan. If Mr. Tan could please come forward along with Delana Lee. The board would like to recognize Delana Lee, who was named the Girls Tennis Gateway League Individual Champion. Delana finished the season with a 36-3 record, including a perfect 21-0 during league play. She was named the Girls Tennis Gateway League Individual Singles Champion and will once again be competing for the CIF Southern Section Championships over Thanksgiving. Congratulations. Is there anyone in the audience that you'd like to recognize?
I'd like to thank my dad for always supporting me and coming to my games and for helping me practice over the weekends.
Wonderful. And thank you, Coach Tran, for your service as well. Representing Mayfair Girls Volleyball, head coach Taylor Hernandez. Can you please come forward with Captains Naali, Gattaca, Addison Riddle, and Emma Rivera. The board would like to recognize Mayfair Girls Volleyball, who were named Mid-Cities League champions. The 2024 Mayfair High School girls volleyball team finished the season with a 20-9 record and went 9-1 in league play. They were named Mid-Cities League champions and represented Mayfair in the Division V CIF Southern Section playoffs. Unfortunately, they were defeated by Ventura in the playoffs, but Coach Hernandez is looking forward to moving up to the Gateway League next year. Congratulations, everyone. Ladies, do you have anyone you'd like to recognize? We'd like to thank our coaching staff and also my grandpa for videoing every single game. Nice. And thank you, Coach Hernandez, as well, for your service. And that concludes recognitions this evening.
One more round of applause for all of our amazing student athletes. All right, we will now move on to our presentations from student, staff, and community. Ms. Zilla will now share an inspirational message. Welcome back to the podium.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Critchfield, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Acevedo, and Cabinet. I'm pleased to be here tonight to share an inspirational message that shines a spotlight on a very special student. Los Flores Home Education Independent Study Academy is often referred to as the best kept secret of the Bellflower Unified School District. And while I respectfully disagree that such a remarkable institution should remain a secret, I am here tonight to honor someone who not only discovered this hidden gem, but thrived under its guidance. I first met Angelina Sanchez and her father when they traveled from San Bernardino County to meet with me and Mrs. Ewing. Angelina was 5 at the time and impressed us when her father proudly demonstrated her ability to divide fractions. And while we gently explained to him that she might not fully understand the concept yet, her capacity to solve these problems had foreshadowed the exceptional student that she would become. Mrs. Ewing and I immediately recognized we were meeting someone truly special, destined to flourish in our unique learning environment, such as Los Flores. However, to our surprise, Angelina and her family did not return that year. And I had to fast forward to 2016-17 school year when I had the pleasure of welcoming Angelina as a 4th grade student alongside her 1st grade sister who was entering 1st grade. I vividly remember their family, and it was a joy to finally welcome them to our Leopard community. Angelina's journey at Los Flores has not been without challenges, but through our alternative learning environment, she has blossomed into an outstanding scholar with the potential to make extraordinary contributions to society. Fast forward again to 2024-25 school year when I returned to Los Flores, and it was at this time that I once again met Angelina, now a young woman who had truly come of her own. Her leadership, determination, and personal growth were nothing short of inspiring. Angelina's accomplishments reflect her relentless drive for success. In addition to excelling academically, she has taken college courses, not for high school credit, but for solely to advance her college aspirations. She has also actively pursued after-school CalAPS classes and has competed in Skills USA to broaden her skills and experiences. Yet her academic and extracurricular achievements are only part of her story. Angelina has transformed our school community through her leadership and initiative. She has recruited students to the Superintendent Student Advisory Board multiple times. She has secured student representation on the School Site Council for the first time, and she spearheaded the establishment of the Los Flores' first ASB. Her contributions to extend beyond leadership because she also played a pivotal role in redesigning and organizing our school library, further demonstrating her commitment to enhancing the school experience for others. Given her impact, it is no surprise when she was named one of our very first high school students of the month for the 24-25 school year. Despite commuting from a distant city, Angelina's dedication to Bellflower Unified and the Los Flores community has never wavered. Not only is she an exceptional leader, but she is also a caring sister, a role model to younger students, and deeply admired by her peers, teachers, and parents alike. And we have lots of them here tonight to be here and support her. Angelina's legacy at Los Flores will undoubtedly inspire future generations, and I am confident that her future will shine as brightly as the contributions she's already made to us. I would like to conclude this inspirational message with a brief presentation highlighting both pivotal moments of Angelina's time with BUSD, as well as some quotes from many people who have had the pleasure to work with her over these years. Oh, it's me. Which one? This one? Is that it? Okay. No music. I have to use one? Oh, I thought it was going to play with the music. Yeah, there's music. Okay, sorry. Yeah, there was music. It's okay.
What kind of music was it, just so I can imagine it?
It was actually really great music and it looped. I can hum it. No, I'm just kidding.
Go for it. Go for it. The mic's still on. You can do it. I don't know. Are you being arrested right there? What is that?
Wait, it does look like that, but that is a Cal Apps class. I asked her
Okay.
that same question.
Okay.
She gave me that picture to put up there.
Just making sure. Thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate having our students highlighted and celebrated, and I'm glad we're doing that here at these board meetings to center our focus as a board and a district, so I really appreciate it. Angelina, do you have anything you want to say? You want to hop on the microphone? So first of all, I don't even know if I can confidently divide fractions. How many of you guys, if I gave you a problem, can divide fractions right now? Probably not many. Angelina, please share.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. My parents have been my main support, my dad mostly, and my teachers. Miss Mo, I remember coming into school and writing in really big letters and using 2 lines and then like coming and having to change that to one line only. And then Miss Smoke when I was doing really bad in English, and she taught me how to write like the best essays, and I'm so confident in that now. So thank you for the staff for coming and giving me so much confidence now and helping me thrive. And thank you to both of my parents for taking that 1-hour drive every day.
Where are parents at?
Right
They're here? Raise your hand. Yeah.
So thank you very much for this
Thank you.
opportunity.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to welcome our student board reporters. Stephen, I think you have a new job. I think you're the official podium helper. We'll start with representing Bellflower High School, Stephen Martinez.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Board President Critchfield, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Ms. Acevedo, guests, and fellow students. This will be Bellflower High School's November board report. So firstly is Fall Fest. Fall Fest occurred late last month, but it's our biggest community, our community engagement event where we normally get over 1,000 guests, and we help fundraise over 40 organizations, clubs, and sports. In total, this year we fundraised over $10,000 for these various organizations. For Red Ribbon Week, just like every other school in the district, we decorated, throughout those campus, we decorated, we also welcome board clerk, Ms. Garza, as in the bottom middle picture. Thank you. And then for local engagement, for Veterans Day, our ensemble group went to the city of Bellflower's Memorial Day Veterans event, where they sang and were able to meet veterans and be with city officials. And then for Dia de los Muertos event, hosted by our PTSA, allowed the community to go in and decorate sugar skulls. And there was also 2 gift baskets were won by participants that were there. And then for our quarter one honor roll, over 960 students were honored by receiving certificates and a ticket to get free Kona Ice, which our students loved. Our long line. Yeah, it was a very long line. And then some of our future events is we're beginning, we're excited to begin selling graduate packages as we close in the first semester for our seniors, which marks one of the steps that gets them closer to the end of their high school journey. And for our annual money drive for the city of Bellflower, we are putting a twist to it this year. Penny Wars allows the money drive to be more interactive with students and incentivizes them more to donate. The students vote for which teacher will wear a silly costume for a day by putting coins into a basket of which the teacher they want to wear the costume. Yes. And then that's this month's word report. And before we end this off, I would like to congratulate Mayfair football on advancing to the quarterfinals and wish them good luck tomorrow against Palos Verdes. This concludes my presentation, and have a good and safe Thanksgiving break.
Cool. Thank you, Stephen. All right, representing Mayfair High School, Gil Friedman, you're up.
All right, good evening, President Critchfield, Interim Superintendent Ms. Acevedo, board members, and district colleagues. So this is our November board report. So it's really a recap of the the end of October. We had a lot of events at the end of October, and you can see Ms. Brown dressed up as an old lady. We had our Day of the Dead event. It was great. It was in the gym. And yeah, I mean, we had a ton of events. It was a super good time. Unified Cheer got to cheer at the homecoming football game, as you can see down there. All right. So coming back to the 4As, starting off with academics, we had the Monsoon of the Month celebration. I believe they got pizza this time. The first Avid field trip was 7th and 8th grade, got to go to Cal State Long Beach and get a kind of feel of what college life is going to be somewhat like. And we had Mr. Eastham bring Julius Caesar back from the dead just to die again in front of all of the students. But it was pretty dope. He looks pretty cool. So. Moving on to athletics. Football, flag football, volleyball, and cross country all made it to CIF. And volleyball and cross country are the league champions. So congratulations to all the teams. You can see Mr. Phillips. That was his last home game as the band director. So that was a great sentimental moment. All right, for arts and CTE, we have our new patient care pathway, which students can kind of get the basics of nursing. It's super cool. I think they just got certified in CPR, so now they can do that. Our marching corps are still focusing on the Rose Parade, which is coming up. We have a new tiny home that is 100% solar powered that was built by Woodshop. Cool. And this is a big time for choir. This is where the transition from a concert choir to a show choir begins. And you'll see December 18th, 19th at the Bellflower Civic Center is the first winter show. It's our first show choir show. So it's a great time, dancing, upbeat songs. Just definitely come check it out. For activities, we had our homecoming, which was truly amazing. I mean, the night went phenomenally. It was, you can see Mr. Phillips there. Again, he's certified royalty now, as it's his last year. We kind of wheeled him around the gym, dressed him up. You have our senior court. They did their dance up there. And middle school had their Mahalloween, which is their dance on Halloween Day. And I heard that it was a great time. And senior seminar, you know, I still got a couple years, but they said that it was a heartfelt day. There was many emotions shared and lots of deep connections. And it was a great, you know, time away from class because senior year can be very stressful. And they got to connect with all of, you know, their fellow Monsoons. And it was a good time. All right, thank you. You can stay connected. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at MayfairBUSD. Visit our webpage, mayfairmonsoons.org. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Gil. All right, and representing Somerset High School is Jay Torres, who will be stepping in for Julian Becerra. Julian is no longer able to report to the board due to a conflict in his schedule, but welcome, Jay.
Good evening, President Crutchfield, members of the board, Superintendent Azevedo, and guests. My name is Jay Torres, and I am a senior in ASB and the student board reporter for Somerset High School. This evening, I will be sharing with you our latest activities at Somerset and upcoming events too. The first event that I would like to share is our 3,300 square foot haunted house maze. That was a school project students built. Once the structure was built, we had students doing the electrical, visual effects, decorations, and acting. We had over 350 community visitors that enjoyed the maze. After the maze, visitors participated in additional student-created carnival games to earn candy and prizes. Everyone enjoyed the evening. This year, Somerset is offering after-school classes for the first time. One of our new classes is an art class where students learn about famous artists and mimic their style. Another one is a personal fitness. In this class, students have individual fitness plans and get to enjoy listening to music and have fun while getting into shape. In the month of October, we had special guests from the Marines that spoke about all the different opportunities that one has in the profession. We also had community college representatives from Cerritos and Long Beach College on campus to talk with students about the programs they offer. We are happy to have them as community partners. We also had field trips to Screamfest in Los Angeles and Crystal Cove and Newport Beach. At Screamfest, students learned how to use makeup for special effects in our haunted house maze. We also had a trip to Crystal Cove led by a state park ranger educating us in plants and animals native to California. After seeing the wilderness area, we visited the tide pools and saw sea animals and plant life there. Finally, here are some of the up-and-coming events for Somerset. We just started Block 4, and our annual Turkey Day is next week, so mark it down on your calendar. On December 5th, we have our visit for Model Continuation School from the California Department of Education. If approved, this will mark our continuous recognition for being a model continuation high school, since the program was initiated in 1990. We hope to see you next week at our Turkey Day event, and thank you for your time. We wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Stephen, Gil, Jay, thanks for the reports. Really appreciate it. And at this time, if you want to stick around for the whole meeting, you totally can. But at this time, if you have other obligations, you're free to go. But thanks again. One more round of applause for Stephen, Gil, and Jay. All right, we'll now move on to stakeholder communications. Can BTA President Carrie McDaniel please come on down to the podium?
All right. Good evening, President Critchfield, Interim Superintendent Azevedo, members of the board, members of the cabinet, audience, and community members. Tonight, I just wanted to give you an update on what the Bellflower Teachers Association and its members have been up to. BTA Membership Engagement Committee provided members with a little Halloween treat in their teacher mailboxes. BTA Vice President Dan Fong did a great job with our Political Action Committee. He spent countless hours organizing support for Marina Citron. We had many teachers out precinct walking on several Saturdays and on our Rep Council October meeting date. A few BTA members participated in the City of Bellflower Trunk or Treat, showing support for our families and community members. BTA is excited to welcome Marina to our school board team next year. Our bargaining team met again at the end of October. I continue to hope that as we build relationships, the process will become better. We have 2 more dates in October and 1 more so far in January. Ryan and Renee have been really great in getting us the information that we've requested. The first quarter ended in mid-October, and our traditional high schools and elementary teachers are preparing first semester report cards. Somerset recently got back from their fall break and is back on campus ready for their next block. BTA had a meeting with TK teachers as we've gotten a lot of concerns from them. Bonnie's been really great with meeting with me to go over their curriculum concerns and getting the things that they need. I met with Alma today and discussed that special education is heading in the right direction. The amount of phone calls and/or emails I have fielded this year compared to last year is significantly less. She reported that increasing the number of times a standing committee meets has helped address concerns more regularly and timely. And we have some good systems in place, and they seem to be working. I appreciate Lisa sending extra support to Lindstrom to help their AP while their principal is out. Finally, it's a season of thankfulness. I say this because we have a lot to be thankful for this year. I feel that BUSD is moving in the right direction together, and that's important because we can accomplish much more if we're all working towards the same goal, getting our students to graduation and on to their futures, and all of us in this room have a stake in that process. Have a great night and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. And can CSEA Communication Officer Anthony Ramirez come on down? Welcome, Anthony.
Good evening. Thank you for that. Yes, as you've heard, my name is Anthony Ramirez. So good evening, Board Member Critchfield, board members, Superintendent Azevedo, cabinet members, BTA leadership here, members in the audience. Good evening to everybody else too. As you've heard, we have a couple of things to update this month. CSEA, Chapter 32, would like to officially congratulate Board Member-elect Marina Cintron on her recent election to the USD Board of Trustees. CSEA, led by Novella Campos, is back there, and the BTA, led by Dan Fong, were instrumental in providing both support and hands-on campaign efforts. The joint activity we feel has brought CSEA and BTA to a closer, mutually respectful and cooperative alignment that we hope will carry forward long into the future. It's a good thing for all of us. CSEA Chapter President Michelle Cuellar has been meeting with Dr. Ryan, Superintendent Azevedo, Assistant Superintendent Alma Ulloa, and several of you board members too. I guess individually, not together, but has been meeting with all of you, trying to resolve some of the issues that are important to the security of the classified workers. We appreciate the time and all of the energy put into these meetings. It means a lot to us. And finally, CSEA, the negotiations team, is happy to report that we have secured dates to meet with Dr. Ryan, both in December and January, to pick up the labor contract negotiations that had kind of been stalled out during recent administrative changes. A fair contract that spells out the conditions of employment with quality health care benefits and provides a secure retirement path and process for us classified workers will help make BUSD into a destination district where quality employees are not just hired, but they're also retained. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to share that brief update with you. Good night.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, moving right along, it is time for Superintendent's Report. Mrs. Azevedo.
Thank you. Good evening. As we approach Thanksgiving, I want to extend my heartfelt wishes to our students, families, staff, and community for a restful holiday break. This time of year offers us all a chance to step away from our daily routines and reconnect with family and friends. It's an opportunity to pause, reflect, and share moments of gratitude with those who enrich our lives. Whether gathering around the table, sharing stories, or simply enjoying the presence of loved ones, this holiday encourages us to recognize the strength of our community. I'm continually inspired by the resilience, the kindness, and the support that defines the BUSD family. And I'm grateful for each of you who contribute to making our schools a welcoming place for all. Speaking of being thankful, I'd like to show a very quick video of our high school students participating in the local 605 band with both ABC Unified and Norwalk La Mirada Unified students. So let's pause just for a moment to take a look at this video.
Hey, do you see though? We take up half a stadium. When we add the drum line, all 90 of them, we're pretty much going crazy.
All the way up. Here we go. 605 All-Star Band coming around the corner. Full out. Keep listening. What wins? Faster. Keep listening.
Thank you for allowing me to share that this evening. I want you to know that I'm very impressed with our students being able to participate in this particular event. We talk about community. This is a fine example of how Bellflower Unified is interacting with other communities near us. So our students, our Bellflower High School and Mayfair High School students, are many of the 540 students that you just saw on that screen that are going to march in the Rose Parade this new year. It's a very large group, so you can imagine all the work that's going into preparing all these students to be able to do that. So please come out and support them during their local practice parade on Sunday, December 1st. The band will march from the Ron Urey Stadium in Bellflower to Mayfair Park in Lakewood. We're going to put up a map on our district website, and there's an example of it right there. So our families can come out and you can watch that group walk down Alondra, up Woodruff, up Allington, down Bellflower, and then up South Street all the way to Mayfair Park. So please grab a lawn chair, come out and join our group and support the effort. It's a really neat opportunity for our students. And again, tonight, I'm also very pleased to introduce our board and our community to our new Director of Certificated Personnel, Ms. Shantae Knox is here this evening. Dr. Shantae Knox, if I can have you please stand. Congratulations, and welcome to the team. We're happy to have her join us this evening. So in conclusion, I'm wishing everybody a joyful Thanksgiving. We look forward to having everyone come back refreshed and renewed to continue to finish that fall semester. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Azevedo. Yeah, with working with the community, I know this band has like really brought a lot of partnership in the cities as well. I think both the city of Bellflower and the city of Lakewood have both been heavily involved, and even like my other role as a safety commissioner for Lakewood, just closing down streets is a big task, and I believe the city is, I think it's like $75,000 that they're putting into it, so it's a huge team effort to just do this thing. So I really hope everybody comes out to support our students and all the students in there. I know we're going to be out there the whole time. It's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. And welcome, Ms. Shantae Knox. Would you like to come to the podium? Why don't you introduce yourself to the people? I'm throwing you on the spot there.
Actually prepared
Did you?
something.
Oh
I
man,
did.
one step ahead.
All right. So good evening, Board President Critchfield, Vice President Stewart, Board Clerk Garza, Governing Board as a whole, Superintendent Acevedo, Deputy Superintendent Smith, and BUSD family. My name is Dr. Shantae Knox, and I am excited to serve as the Executive Director of Instructional Personnel. Thank you for entrusting me with this role. What makes this role even more special is that many years ago, I served as a teacher for Bellflower Unified School District for over 10 years. It is great to be back home. My vision is to work collaboratively to ensure our district is well-staffed with the best instructors and instructional leaders available to alter both the academic and career trajectory of our students. I look forward to hosting our own job fairs, both internally and externally, providing pathways for advancement and providing professional development for certificated and certificated management staff, enhancing both educational practice and student learning outcomes. I look forward to leading the good work we have ahead of us. Thank you.
Welcome home. All right, we will now move on to, where are we at? Discussion items. It is now time for discussion items. Mrs. Azevedo?
Yes, thank you. We have 2 discussion items this evening. Let's begin with item 10.1, cell phone policy report. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Smith to share information with the board.
Thank you, Interim Superintendent Azevedo. Good evening, Board President Critchfield, Vice President Stewart, and Board Clerk Garza. It is my pleasure this evening to present some results from a comprehensive survey that we did of our district's stakeholders, specifically our students, teachers, and staff, as well as our parents and families. Yep, we're good. As a little bit of background into how we arrived here today, Assembly Bill 272 was actually signed into law back in July of 2019. This was a bill that allowed schools to limit or prohibit smartphone use during school hours to enhance learning and well-being. And it also carved out some specific exceptions in that law. More recently, our Board of Education passed a resolution titled Promoting Student Well-Being and Academic Focus Through a Phone-Free School Environment in July. This resolution called specifically for the development of a district-wide policy that limited student use of cell phones and personal devices during the school day to support academic focus and well-being. The board's resolution came in advance of another assembly bill that was recently signed into law in September by Governor Newsom that requires school districts to develop and adopt policies that limit or prohibit student smartphone use on campus. So the difference between Assembly Bill 272 in 2019 and the bill in 2024 is it changes it from districts may to districts shall. And again, I want to emphasize through the board's leadership that the board was ahead of things with passing its resolution, bringing us to this point. So it's always good to kind of be on the cutting edge and moving forward. We conducted a comprehensive survey of our school district community. We had over 2,000 responses to our survey. 916 of those responses came from students. 400 responses came from teachers and staff, and 702 responses came from parents and family members. So we had quite a number of responses and pretty diverse group. Of the students, about 85% were secondary students. Of the teachers, we had a fairly good balance of secondary and elementary, 55% being a secondary, 41% being elementary. And of parents and family members who responded, we had 65% of those parents that responded had at least one student in our secondary schools, and over 20% of our parent and family respondents had multiple students in multiple schools. So let's start with our parents. What did our parents have to say about their student cell phone use in school? One of the first questions that we asked was, how often do you believe your child uses their phone during school hours? 27% of parent and family member respondents said always or often, 30% said sometimes, and 44% said rarely or never. One interesting piece that goes along with this is about 23% of our parents said that they communicate with their child during school hours multiple times or once or twice a day. So again, this is what our parents had to tell us. We also asked, how concerned are you about the amount of time your child spends on their phone during the school day? 27% responded very or somewhat concerned, while 60% emphasized not very or not at all concerned. We also asked parents a number of statements, whether or not they strongly agree or agree. First was, my child's phone use during the school day negatively impacts their academic focus. My child experiences stress or anxiety when they don't have access to their phone during the school day. My child needs to have their phone during school hours to stay in touch with me, or I expect my child to respond to my messages during school hours. Of note here is 63% of our parents and families specifically saying that they need their student to have their phone to stay in touch with them during school hours. However, only 28% said that they actually expect their student to get back to them. We also asked their parents' perception as to whether or not their child has ever felt unsafe or uncomfortable at school because of something shared or done on a cell phone. 85%, just a little over, indicated that they did not. And that number up there shouldn't be 56.5, it should be 85.5. My apologies for that. We also received a number of comments. We asked open-ended questions and received a number of comments, too many to be able to share here. But some of the themes I put up there in terms of representative quotes, we received a lot of comments about safety, maintaining access in emergencies, and those kinds of things. And these quotes were kind of representative of the feedback that we received in response to those open-ended questions. As I mentioned, we had a number of student responses, mostly from our secondary students, but a substantial number. We also asked them their perceptions of their use of their phones during school hours. Interestingly, 65% say they use their phones less than 30 minutes during the school day. And again, this is our students' own perception of their cell phone use. You can read into that what you will. I hear some giggles out in the audience. We also asked our students, how often do you use your phone for the following activities during school hours? Here's what our students told us. The primary use of their phones during school hours, according to our students, is for checking grades or school-related notifications. 73%, 72%. Our students also told us that their second most common use of their phones during the school day are research or completing school assignments. We have great students, so I'm not shocked. None of us should be shocked, sorry, editorial. But you can see that towards the bottom, social media, texting or calling friends, or watching videos or playing games ranks near the bottom as far as what our students say they're using their cell phones for. We asked our students similar questions as to what we asked our parents, namely, having my phone accessible during school makes it harder for me to focus on my schoolwork. I feel anxious or stressed if I can't check my phone. I need to use my phone during the school day to stay in touch with my parents or guardians, and my parents expect me to respond during school hours. Interestingly, safety is a theme that is similar in terms of concern to our students, but also interestingly is while our parents said they didn't expect a response from their students when they reach out to them on their phone during the day, our students, more than half said they actually do. We asked a similar question about whether or not, and it shouldn't say has your child, but has your child ever felt unsafe or uncomfortable at school? This was aimed at our students because of something done on a cell phone. Almost identical to our parent respondents, our students also told us that 85% have not felt unsafe or uncomfortable due to an issue with their cell phones. We also obtained a number, and I mean a number of quotes from our students. And once again, there were plenty of comments about safety and access that kind of mirrored the feedback that we received from our parents and families. We also received a number of comments about ensuring that whatever policy, there's no double standard between student phone use on campus and teacher and staff phone use on campus. We also analyzed what our teachers and staff have to say about cell phone use at school. The data slides that I'm going to share with you next, I've broken down in a couple of different ways. So I break it down by all teachers and staff, and then by elementary and by secondary, because phone usage on elementary campuses versus secondary campuses looks and feels and actually is very different. So I felt it would be important for the board to see the data parsed that way. So one of the questions we asked was, how often do you observe students using their phones? All teachers said, about 39% of all of our teachers said they observe students using their phones always or often during instructional time. Almost 60% during non-instructional time, and 47% said always or often when it comes to in negative ways that impact their social interaction. Here's how it breaks down as reported by elementary teachers and staff and secondary teachers and staff. So again, this data highlights the differences in terms of teacher and staff perception of cell phone use dependent upon grade level or grade span. We also asked teachers and staff whether or not they strongly agree or agree with the following statements, very similar to our other parent and student stakeholder groups. When it came to student phone use during class time, or students experience stress or anxiety, student phone use during school increases the risk of negative behaviors, and reducing student cell phone use during the school day would improve focus and well-being. Those all rated very highly as far as whether or not teachers and staff strongly agree or agree. However, when you break that down by elementary and by secondary, you see one stark difference in the responses, namely whether or not students experience stress or anxiety when they don't have access to their phones during the school day. The likely reason for that is student phone use in our elementary schools is pretty low or limited, which is probably why teachers and staff presumably responded in that way. We also asked teachers whether or not they felt unsafe or uncomfortable at school because of something shared or done on a cell phone. At the top is all teachers and staff, with 43% saying yes. When you break that down towards the left with elementary teachers and staff, only a quarter say yes. And with secondary teachers and staff, it jumps significantly to nearly 60% said they have felt unsafe or uncomfortable at school because of something shared or done on a cell phone. We also obtained a number of quotes, comments around a few different questions from our teachers and staff that, quite frankly, were quite helpful. There were some really good ideas in there, but especially when it came to some of the comments and themes were related, just like everybody else, around safety and access. And the perspectives of teachers and staff are certainly different when it comes to safety than it is from our students and parents. And then we received plenty of comments and feedback about consistent enforcement of whatever policy is ultimately formed. Consistency, consistency, consistently. And the comments tended to range and include consistency between teachers and staff as colleagues, teachers and staff with admin, and beyond in terms of ensuring that whatever policy has the proper level of consistency and support. So, what support is there for restrictions to student cell phone use? So we asked a few different questions related to this. First off, do you support a ban on cell phone use during the entire school day or only during instructional time? So this was our response in terms of support for banning cell phones during the entire school day. So 25% of parents and family members, a very small 3% of students like that or were favorable to that, and 63% of all teachers and staff were supportive of limiting cell phone use during the entire day. When we asked the similar question about whether or not cell phone use should be banned only during or limited only during instructional time, there was considerably broad support for this amongst both our parents and family members and teachers and staff, and I would describe it as tepid support from our students for not being able to use cell phones during instructional time. We also asked, to break this down further, just looking at our teachers in particular. All teachers, as I mentioned on the last slide, 63%, but elementary teachers at a rate of 77% in terms of support for banning or restricting cell phone use all day versus 54% of secondary school teachers and staff. I believe the reason for this, again, has to do with the nature of elementary phone use and access at elementary versus secondary. Right now in our elementary schools, they all have a pretty solid policy about students not using phones during the day, and again, the students are younger. When it comes to banning cell phone use only during instructional time, broad support among elementary teachers and staff and secondary teachers and staff. We also asked, finally, whether or not what everyone thought would be the most effective way to enforce a cell phone policy at school. So first we started with teachers confiscating phones when they are used inappropriately. We also asked about using pouches to store phones during the school day. We didn't intentionally specify what kind of pouches. Currently there's all kinds of approaches to that. Some are in place in the district now in certain classrooms and at schools. Interestingly, with this particular result, while 7 out of 10 teachers and staff who responded are favorable for that, the support among parents and family members and certainly students is significantly lower. We also asked about designating specific times and places where cell phone use is allowed. increasing the consequences for violating the cell phone policy. And we also threw out there, what about relying on students to self-regulate? And the students' support for self-regulation was their highest response, not surprisingly, probably. So, policy implications that we would recommend the board consider as we move forward and as we develop a draft policy for consideration. First, balancing safety and learning, recognizing the importance of phones for student safety, particularly in emergencies, while also emphasizing the need for focused, distraction-free learning environment. Clear boundaries and consistent enforcement is also another implication that is quite important. The need for a unified approach where rules on cell phones are consistent across all classrooms and supported by all staff members to prevent mixed messaging. Educational purpose versus personal use is also an implication to consider, distinguishing between the academic use of technology via district-provided Chromebooks and personal cell phone use, aiming to limit phones to essential education or emergency needs. The role of family engagement, emphasizing the importance of family understanding and alignment with our policy, including setting expectations for minimal phone use during school hours to support student focus and well-being. And finally, structured access times, identifying specific non-instructional time, such as lunch or breaks, where limited phone use could be allowed to give students designated opportunities to check in with family, reducing the need for covert phone use. So those are the results, or a summary of the results of our survey. President Critchfield, board members, thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you for that, Ryan. Are there any questions from the board regarding the results of the survey? Ms. Garza.
Thank you, President Critchfield. I agree with the findings that if we are, as we go forward, we need to make sure that we are consistent throughout our whole school district, that everyone is implementing that policy. I can recall being probably one of the very few teachers as a substitute going to a high school campus when I was enforcing the policy myself and then being threatened by a student to, return the phone. So I think it's very important as we go forward to make sure that that is happening on all our campuses, so that way one person doesn't feel like the bad guy, and that this is important, for our students and for their safety as well, and for being able to focus on their learning. But I also wanted to ask that if, as we go forward writing this policy, to kind of think about a policy that accommodates students with special needs with medical conditions that require access to their phones, perhaps, and also maybe steps on how teachers will be implementing this. Is there going to be like a tiered kind of step situation? First you do this. If the student doesn't comply, then what happens next? What type of supports will we be giving our teachers who are placed in those situations? Do they call in their administrator right away? Is maybe perhaps our security personnel on campus called? Is there are they going to be filling out a paper format, to report that? How are we going to be looking at that? Perhaps a tiered system would be beneficial for our teachers as we move forward with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. And Ryan, do you want to speak on the IEP portion of any policy we'd put in?
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Garza, for those comments. They're well taken. With respect to the exception for students with IEPs or students with disabilities or some type of health situation, the law itself specifically calls for a few different carve-outs for that, and that is one of them. So that would be, obviously part of our policy to be in full compliance with our law. And then ultimately, whatever policy we bring forward to the board would have some very clear, specific parameters for our school sites to make sure that their policies and procedures and practices on their campuses align with the board's expectations.
Thank you, Ryan. Vice President Stewart.
Before I ask, can you, for our public and for any community members watching, can you just remind us of those 4 exceptions in which they can use their phone? please.
I certainly can if you give me 1 second, please. Please forgive me. I should have had that up.
And why you look that up, I think that that's even in place with our current policy because it's straight from Ed Code, right? So that's going to be there no matter what.
Yes, sir, it is, and I'm trying, there we go. So the exceptions are the following. School districts are not allowed to impose restrictions on cell phone use in emergencies or perceived threats, medical needs as determined by a physician, situations where a device is used, device use is required by a student's IEP, or when granted permission by a teacher or administrator subject to reasonable limitations. Those are the specific carve-outs that are in the law.
Okay, so understanding those 4 things, those are really important things. Like you can use them during emergency. I have a student that has low blood sugar. She monitors on her phone. You can use it during those times. So it carves out some really important times that we can use it. For me, I'm really torn on this, and I don't know that this, I'm gonna just be honest, I don't think this helps me not one bit, because there's such a difference in how our students think and our teachers think and our parents think. And I've been a parent and I'm a teacher, and I fully think that we should not be using phones during instructional time. I think that should not be allowed. They have their Chromebooks, which has access to the internet, so why do they need a Chromebook and a phone when they can do the same thing? For me, this is only my personal opinion, I don't think they should have them out at lunch or break. And the reason is because I have seen at my school and other schools way too many instances where there's bullying happening, where there's taking pictures of teachers walking through the quad, when they're, texting inappropriate things, they're watching things on their phone that's inappropriate. And that does not sit well with my constituents and my voters and the people that are in the audience or the parents. So that's hard for me. Why am I so far off from what these parents are thinking? And I just think it needs to be a deeper dive or a deeper conversation, maybe some type of town hall, some type of committee, to really understand, because I don't totally understand what their thinking is. In my mind, their kids are probably just saying, say this, say this. That's my mind, but I just feel like I would need to take a deeper dive on this. I disagree with some of the things I'm seeing in these findings.
So this being a discussion item, we have talked, and at the next board meeting, we'll be having a public hearing. So even though we're discussing this now, everyone's going to have an opportunity, a layered effect of, we did this survey, but the public hearing, because we want to hear what everybody else has to say too, if they didn't get a chance to participate in the survey, or if they see the survey and have additional thoughts.
So if we're having a public hearing, what I would like to see as a board member is an email sent to all teachers, staff, all parents, promoted on our website, so that it's not we get one person up here. That's not going to help us make that decision. And then when we make a decision, if it's bad, then we're going to have 50 million people up here. So I would like to see it promoted as much as possible so that we get people here to really, truly hear what they think. We need them to tell us what they think, but yeah, I would really like it promoted as much as possible.
I totally agree that we need to promote it and have a public hearing that people know about. Because I also think, even though I really do appreciate all the work that went into the survey, Ryan, you put a lot of work into this, and you have been for, it's been a couple months now, a few months maybe. But I do think that even reading through the survey, and Vice President Stewart and I were talking, when we talk about a cell phone ban, what some people might be thinking when they're doing the survey might be different than what we're really talking about. I know a lot of the concerns parents have are, when their child is going to school, if they walk to school, or after school, if they need to get picked up, if they, the GPS on the phone, it's like, so if they think like you can't have it at school at all, and that means they can't bring it. So I feel like really helping illustrate like what it is we're talking about and what options are on the table, because I think Vice President Stewart's right. We just get such a different picture when we see the results from our teachers and then our parents and obviously our students, all gonna have a different perspective. But I think what I've heard from our teachers is they need the backup support of district to really enforce a policy, because right now, currently, our policy is what a lot of people said that they were for in the survey, which is absolutely no phones during instructional time. But from the teachers that I've spoken to, that's not exactly something that happens in every classroom, and it makes it very difficult for the next teacher. So we either need to enforce the policy that we have on the books, or we need to do more when it comes to restricting phone use. And a lot of districts are doing it right now, but I'm not a anti-tech person. I actually love the idea of using technology and really embracing it. But we have to be very smart, because what a lot of the results don't address is the mental health aspect of what the new bill is trying to address. It's not just, is it a distraction? It's at lunch, during school, what does it do to the campus culture? What does it do to relationships with kids? What does it do to their level of anxiety and stress? And that's our job, is to educate, keep their attention, and look out for the well-being of our students. And it may not be a popular decision, but I think everything's on the table right now, and I want to hear from as many people as possible, so hopefully people come to that public hearing. Vice President Stewart.
I think Ms. Garza was first. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to ask you, board members and our student board member, when I look at this cell phone ban policy, it just seems so negative to me. Is there, a possibility that we can maybe tweak the wording on that policy and make it more of a positive policy, instead of, it just kind of conjures up a negative connotation to me, a ban. Like, we're not trying to ban, at least not yet. Maybe just enhance instructional time, something that is.
Cell phone usage policy?
Yes, maybe just cell phone usage policy. And perhaps we'll need 2 parts to this policy, one that addresses, elementary, and one that, or 3 parts, maybe something that addresses middle school, and finally one that addresses high school. I'm wondering if maybe that's what we'll find as well. So.
Yeah, and just, I'm speaking to the community, so just my own personal feel again is, I was listening to LA Unified talk about the pouches, and they were talking about if they had a lockdown or if they had something that was long, they were gonna give all the kids back their pouches, and in my mind, I'm like, how are you in the middle of a lockdown gonna go get cell phones and hand them back to students? That makes no sense to me. So if I ruled the world and I had to make this, I would just literally want students to have their phones turned off and put away in their backpacks. I have a daughter, I want her to have a cell phone when she's walking to and from school or an emergency, but I even think if there is a real lockdown, a real emergency, are the phones, if you're on your phone, you're not paying attention to your surroundings of the emergency. So maybe it would be good for them to not have their phone. So there's so many different ways to look at it. I would love to hear your opinion, because I know kids want their phones. Like, I want my phone too, I get it. But do you see the different sides of it, and what do you think, or what do you hear from your friends or the students that you work with or you're around?
So a lot of the students at Mayfair, at least, I feel like they advocate to have their phones. Me personally, I understand that need for the phones to, be put away and during instructional time. But when it comes to the entire day, I do kind of see that as a little bit, not really, because I use my phone when it comes to Google Classroom and Gmails and all that type of stuff. So I feel like what you had said, ban is, a big word. I feel like some students might find a way to kind of work their way around the ban and, try and just, I don't know, just really work their way around it. So I feel like when it comes to that phone ban, I understand, but I just do think that a lot of students will try and diminish it, and start using their phone. But I do agree that when it comes to instructional time, phones should be put away and turned off, so.
Thank you for that. I think you're spot on. I think that's something I've heard from teachers and staff alike, is whatever the policy is, it has to be enforceable. We could say, no phones, but if we don't have the staffing to really make sure that that happens, whatever policy we make, you either have to have the resources behind it to enforce that policy, or because if you don't, you just diminish the value of all your policies. Whatever we decide, it should be something that we can stand behind, support our teachers, support our staff, and everybody knows what the expectations are on site. So you're right. If it can't be enforced, I think that was one of the questions of the survey, right? Did we show that one? Like what percentage they'll find a way around it anyway?
We didn't include it in the
Okay,
presentation,
okay.
but yes, we did ask the question, and all of our stakeholder groups said the same thing, that they predicted that,
Yeah.
most students would try to find a way, or would be successful in trying to find a way around it.
Yeah, because I do think that the conversation opens up even more, and I appreciate you putting in the survey the question about smart watches, because you can make the same arguments against smart watches, and then, Apple's coming out with new Apple glasses next year. Excited about those. But you have all this technology. If we're gonna push against one technology, the goalpost is gonna keep moving. So it's about what is our theory of action? What are we really trying to accomplish, and making sure whatever it is we say, that we communicate it well and we enforce it as well as we can. Vice President Stewart?
Yeah, I just had one more comment. I just definitely agree with Clerk Garza on the tiers. Whatever we come up with, we definitely need our sites to have a plan together, because there's different thoughts. I'm a PE teacher, so we have a no tolerance in the locker room. That could be harassment, so we take them right away. Most people on the playgrounds, they get warnings, and then if it's just continue on, then they take them. But we definitely want to have a plan when we do, figure out something for our each school site to have a plan of attack on that. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
And just one last thing, as we're going forward thinking about these tiers and who will be supporting at each tier, violations, how are we going to be tracking violations with students? Maybe we could come up with something like that as well, so that way it's not burdening the teacher or our staff with so many violations in one day, and they can continue the teaching that they really are there to do.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. And also, I had one more thing I was going to say. What was it? What was I going to say? I'll think of it later. All right. No, I want to remember now. I don't care if I'm on the spot. Nope, lost it. All right. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. What? I don't remember it. Okay, moving on to the next discussion item. Ms. Azevedo.
Yes, so our second discussion item this evening is item 10.2, the school safety plan update. So Ms. Ulloa is going to run through a presentation with the board.
Good evening, President Critchfield, Vice President Stewart, Board Clerk Garza, and Student Board Member Ojosi, fellow cabinet members, community, and those watching at home. Tonight, I'm going to be going over a presentation outlining where we're at with our comprehensive school safety plans, as well as some other important safety updates.
Oh, Alma, hold on, I remembered. All right. It's a good segue into what you're going to talk about.
Okay.
I was going to talk about when Ms. Garza mentioned about the discipline aspect. People think it's like discipline about just using the phone, but it's also like the filming the fights and all the discipline that comes with that. But a lot of the concern from the parents seems to have to do with security more than it does the effect of the phone. So I think if, part of this is to look at what our parents and teachers are concerned about and addressing that, even though it's not cell phone specifically, it's still the community telling us that that's a concern, which is a great segue to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll start with a little bit of background. California Education Code Section 32282 mandates that schools develop a comprehensive school safety plan that identifies the appropriate safety strategies and procedures. District staff provides a CSSP checklist for site administrators to follow in order to ensure that they are meeting Ed Code requirements as they're developing and updating their plans every year. The comprehensive school safety plans include strategies aimed at prevention of and education about potential incidents involving crime and violence on the school campuses. It also addresses aspects of social, emotional, physical safety of both students and adults. The plans are due to the district in December, I want to say December 20th, which gives us enough opportunity to review the plans thoroughly, including all our stakeholders, and they have to be approved by the board by March 1st. There we go. The California Ed Code 32281 specifies who has to develop a comprehensive school safety plan. Essentially, every school with kinder to 12th grade has to develop one. The purpose is to make sure that schools are prepared for emergencies and create a safe and secure learning environment for our students and our personnel. And we have all of our school, or we have more than 2,501 students, so every school has to create a plan. Prior to board approval, the comprehensive school safety plans, there are several entities that review the plans for compliance. So first it starts with district personnel who works closely with school sites, administrators throughout the entire process of developing the plan. We also work collaboratively with local law enforcement and the fire department once the plans are done so that they can review and sign off on them. And then finally, I review the plans and then provide them to the board for review. Then the copies, each school has a copy of their school safety plan, and then we keep one here at the district office as well. And then school administrators may also review and update their plan as needed throughout the school year. All right. The law requires that designated stakeholders to annually engage in the systematic planning process to develop strategies and policies to prevent and respond to potential incidents. Input is given by staff and parents through safety committee meetings, public safety meetings, and PBIS meetings, for example. Public safety meetings are comprised of various stakeholders, community members, and anyone else who demonstrates an interest in participating. We did provide work time for our school administrators and we will continue to, so that they can work with our school district support in completing their plans. They were provided with a copy of their current plan as well as marking and documenting all the changes that are needed, and then so that they can update the plans as required on the document tracking system or services. Those are the dates that we've provided so far, and they'll continue to have some time to work together with district support to develop their plans. In order to ensure that the plans are compliant, we use a detailed checklist that is provided by CDE, and we use that checklist to go through and make sure that all of the requirements are included in their safety plan. This year, some of the plans included additions regarding opioid prevention and life-saving response procedures, as well as adaptations for students with disabilities. Those are new sections that were included this year. The checklist from the Department of California Department of Education is used by sites to update their plan. It includes all the required documents that they have to upload. In addition, it does give them the opportunity to attach any additional supporting documents that they want to their plan that are not required. All right, so as far as additional safety updates, we have been using the Verkada visitor management system for about a year now. We started November of 2023. The system is used during office hours. Our staff have now become accustomed to the system and have developed a system for monitoring large events as well. If the sites have any problems with the Verkada system, they contact our department and we provide support. If we need additional support, we contact our Verkada representative, who is also very responsive. In terms of our PA systems, we have been working with, the PA systems are installed throughout the district. We recently met with the company so that we can start working on some of the common language so we can actually use them effectively. We wanted to make sure that we had common language that is consistent with the documents that were established in the emergency posters that we worked on in collaboration with law enforcement. The next phase of this rollout is going to be to deploy the Revolution desktop notification client on all computers, all staff computers. In addition, we have upgraded phones that will be installed in classrooms. The phones will have pre-programmed keys that will also be able to use to initiate emergency responses as well. and the estimated time for completion is December of 2024. The buzzer systems, the video intercoms have been successfully installed and are in use at the district office, language assessment center, maintenance and operation office. The modules have been installed at early childhood education office, Ramona, Somerset, Las Flores, Craig Williams, and Washington, and they're just pending the final hardware for them to be active. And then the cabling has been completed on all the sites except for Mayfair and Bellflower. Again, full completion for this project is also expected by the end of December. We also have 2 safety vehicles that we use to patrol for safety throughout the district community. And I'll talk a little bit more about the emergency posters. These are the emergency posters that we worked with law enforcement to establish some common language, and so everybody knows what to do in case of emergency. The goal, again, is to make sure that everybody understands the common language and knows what the procedures are in the event of an emergency. We've also made sure so that substitutes are aware. We have substitutes coming into the classrooms. The posters are posted in every classroom, and we also provided school sites with a PDF of the documents that they can include it in substitute teacher folders. The Great California Shakeout, the whole district participated. That was on October 17th at 10:17 a.m. We have an established safety team here at the district, and we work with all the sites to get all the sites cleared in a timely manner. We also, for the first time, used the new PA system here at the district office when we announced the drill. Crisis team, forward. So we formed a district crisis team after the tragedy we happened in the beginning of the school year. During to that event, we realized that there was a need for some more standardized practices in response to a crisis. So we formed the crisis team. The team meets at least monthly and is in the process of developing clear guidelines for systemic response in the event of a crisis. The plan includes guidelines for specific steps to take in various types of emergency situations. Some of the items that we're including in the safety plan include a guide that's intended as really a quick reference. Instead of site administrators or sites having to go through the entire 100-page school safety plan, this really is intended as a short, quick reference guide for them to be able to respond. It also serves as a way for us to align all of our practices across the district during a crisis. Once we have the guidelines completed, we will be sharing them out with district and site admin, and then we will also be providing training as we roll it out. Some of the information that we want to have included in the guide is a list of different crisis teams and contact information for each school site, scripts for speaking with students in the event of a crisis, community resources for staff and students in the community, and then identified rooms for counseling, because that's something that we're going to be needing as well in different situations, school maps and bell schedules for each individual school. We also transitioned recently to using Parent Square as a means of communication throughout the district. It's used district-wide to disseminate information in a timely manner. Oh, sorry. Thank you. We use it, it's very accessible to parents. In addition to our typical communications like BUSD News, we have also used it for important updates and information on things that are happening within the school district. The district is participating in the Sandy Hook anonymous reporting system. The Sandy Hook Promise provides a platform for anonymously reporting tips of potentially dangerous situations or individuals. The emphasis of this program really is to educate staff and students to learn the signs to watch out for. The ultimate goal really ensuring that students and staff are safe. The district teams that are participating in managing the tip system have already completed their account verification and training, and the next steps for us will be to publish the student training materials for site administrative staff to share with teachers, and so they can begin the training with students. IT will be delivering program awareness materials to school sites so they can be posted and shared with students. Administrative transfer protocol. We have an administrative transfer protocol, but we want to refine our process. Bay currently serves the students who have been expelled. Our goal really is to expand this program to include opportunities for administrative transfers through a student placement committee. The process will include a student placement committee that will review the transfer request to Bay. The intent really is establishing a system to review the appropriateness of the referrals, for the team to review the previous interventions that have been used, and to be able to determine whether Bay would be an appropriate placement to meet that student's need. Really, placement at Bay with this process would be to allow students to receive specialized support, to be used as different means of corrections if other interventions have failed, or a student may be involuntarily transferred if the student commits an act that results in the students present causing danger or to the student's property or disrupts the instructional process. Some next steps for us that we're currently working on, we want to finish rolling out the Sandy Hook Promise. Thank you, Stacy. We want to finish rolling out the Sandy Hook Promise. We want to make sure that everyone involved is trained as well. We want to complete the PA system. Again, we want to make sure that everybody that's going to be using it has some training, so we've been working with the company to set that up as well. We want to finish the installation of the intercom system at all remaining sites. We want to make sure that we complete our crisis response team and have those guidelines established. And then also we want to make sure we finalize the procedures for administrative transfer discussed in the previous slide. With that, thank you for the opportunity to give you this update. And I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Thank you for that presentation, and I apologize for being excused for a moment, but we did get the presentation earlier, so I did read it all. But I'm sure we have questions from the dais. I'll start with Vice President Stewart.
I don't think I was first again, but okay. One, I've talked a little bit about Mrs. Acevedo, but I really do think that we need to have a safety committee, some type of ad hoc committee with 2 board members and other people from the district. I would love to see us kind of investigate that and maybe talk about that in the future with, our partners working just to get updates, monthly updates. I know other districts that do it, and I just think it's a really good idea. Sorry. Secondly,
Stuart, if I may, who would you, the committees that you've seen on safety, how are those usually comprised?
Those committees that I've seen in other districts usually have 2 board members. They have district executive cabinet. I haven't seen a superintendent on one, but usually somebody on the cabinet. There's usually 2 members from the unions. So there would be our CSCA, they would have 2 members. Our BTA would have 2 members. Sometimes there's PTA, or it was a group of about 10, so it was kind of intimate. They did them on Zoom. They did not do them in person, but it was just really a good way to notify of just the things that were just kind of like this every month. It was real quick. It was like an hour. We had a cutoff, like it couldn't go longer than that, or we take it to the next one. I thought it was a really good idea. In Paramount, our security head, he ran it, and I was able to go because I was one of my union vice presidents, so I was able to go, and it was just really good. I thought it was a really good idea to just keep everyone notified.
Well, I think that's a great idea, and I would volunteer to be on that committee. Ms. Acevedo, could we form that committee and get that going?
Yes, we can.
Would either of my colleagues like to be on that committee as well if we have 2 board members?
I know you want to be on it, but I think it would be amazing if we just waited 1 more month to see if our new board member might be on it, or maybe Ms. Armstrong might want to be on it. So we know you do, but I would wait and see if maybe they want to.
Sure, if neither of you want to be on it, that's fine.
I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of different committees, and maybe they might want to be on that one to learn.
Sure, we could lay the groundwork for that and make sure that happens.
Yes, we can do that.
Great. Ms. Garza.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions, so if you'd like to go first, President Critchfield.
Can I ask one more question then?
Yeah, please.
My one other question was, our teachers, I don't know if every site is different, are teachers being asked to keep their doors locked or unlocked? And does it vary site to site, or is that across the district? What is the expectation for our teachers and their doors?
Okay, so I don't think we have a recommendation or an expectation, but I know law enforcement recommendation is to keep them locked.
Okay, so can we maybe check with our principals and our admin, because I have heard of some that they want them open all the time, which they have a master key, so my preference, I would love to see them locked, but I want to just see what's happening in our district and how that's being implemented.
We'll follow up.
Thank you so much.
I have a couple. Okay, the completion of the buzzer system, you mentioned December was going to be the completion of that. So that's for all schools.
That is what I'm told, yes.
Okay. How confident are you in that? You seem 50-50. Pretty confident? We got a thumbs up? All right. All right, cool. So it's for all schools. And then you mentioned the rollout of the Sandy Hook promise. So what's involved in that rollout? So it's up and running now. So what's the phase that's kind of pending?
So I know right now what we're doing is we're sending out materials to the school sites that will then link them to a video that's going to be used as part of the training. And so it's just training, sending out the information, and I believe there's also parent communication, right, that goes out, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And I have a couple more, but I'm going to kind of ping pong with you. Go for it. Well, I'm going to ask in a minute.
I have about 10.
Go for it. We're not in a rush.
Okay. All right, thank you. So my first question is, we have some dates on the slides where it says November 6th, 20th, December 5th, and 18th, where where in the progression of developing or confirming each of our schools' CSSPs are we at currently right now? Like, are we having staff meetings or safety meetings, public safety? Where are we?
So right now they're in the process of gathering input, so that could include public safety meetings. I know we surveyed the school sites to get the dates that they're all having those public safety meetings. So right now they're in that stage of gathering input, and then during those dates, they do work with our team here to develop and update their plan. But they are in the plan, the development and gathering input from stakeholder stage.
So would you say that we're on track to meet our deadline?
Absolutely, yes.
And that's with all schools?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then also, what aspects of the PA system are school sites testing?
Okay, so I did not print that with me, but I know Christian can step up and share that information really quickly. He's the techie person.
Thank you for coming forward.
Good evening. At every site with the PA emergency notification systems, what we're testing the cellular notification and initiation portion of it. We're testing that the clock speakers, how you see the lettering will cycle the messages that Ms. Yo explained will be the agreed upon verbiage. Second, and then we're also testing the speakers externally, that they're also providing the accurate coverage that we want.
And so in that, looking at the outside portion, how are we going to confirm that all parts of our schools get that message, even the ones over way at the corner at the end that perhaps don't get, do we have the coverage is what I'm asking?
Yes, those are physical walk tests that we do have teams physically at all these corners and every nook and cranny at every site. Every concern has been evaluated.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
And one more, and then I'll pass it on over to President Critchfield. How often do our school sites practice the 5 emergency scenarios?
It depends. Hold on. Again, not when I print it out. Elementary fire drills are done monthly. Secondary, twice a year. So every school does lockout drills twice. Drop drills twice. Drop and evac twice.
Have we conducted any shooting scenarios or?
So we don't do the active shooter drills, but we did have training, I believe it was last school year.
Okay.
For staff, yes, not for students.
Okay, so with staff, we have done that
Yes.
before?
Yes.
Okay, Great. This year, do we have any planned?
Not yet, no.
Okay. How do we get our staff to do that? To get those drills in as well?
Last year, I believe we contracted with an agency who came out and did the active shooter drill training. So if there's a need to do that again, we would do the same thing.
So is there like a requirement of how often we have to do those? Or
No.
just as long as we feel it's necessary?
Right.
Okay. Do we need to do those? Board members? I'm hearing that it's like kind of our staff chooses, our district chooses. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say what has been our policy in the past.
So as she just shared with you, in the past, we've taken staff through the training. We haven't done a complete active shooter evacuation. Is that correct? That is correct. We have never done that before.
Is that common in K through 12? I think it could be a little traumatizing, right?
Could be.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would leave that to the experts. I mean, I think more safety, the better. If it's
Why don't you let us look into that and get some more information, get back to you? Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, because I know they do it at the college level, and obviously there's a benefit. There's a common sense benefit, but I just want to be very, careful how we move forward and make that.
Yeah.
But whatever we do, it should be for the whole district. Right?
Yes, and mostly my question was pertaining adults, like our staff members, not necessarily our smaller students, because I do agree that there might be something that, we don't want them to be afraid to come to school the next day. But definitely for our staff to go through them at least once a year, I think would be common practice, so that way it's fresh in their mind. And, by memory, you're not kind of freezing up at the last minute if this ever does happen.
Yeah, I'd be for that. So if we can get back to us.
Yep, we'll do that.
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
When we do active shooters and things like that, we tell the parents ahead of time, right?
We did it with staff. We didn't do it with students.
Okay.
It was only staff that were involved.
But we don't have like lockdown drills.
Yes, lockdowns,
And we
yes.
notify parents ahead of time that we're having those lockdown drills, right? So they don't think it's real. It might be something you look into, because a lot of districts, they do send out a parent square and say, hey, just so you know, we're having a lockdown drill today. So they're not texting their parents like, oh my God, it's a lockdown. So you might look at maybe how other districts do that and look into that.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question about I think we spoke about it last month, maybe it was the month before, but we spoke about kind of the perimeter of our campuses and the visibility in certain campuses that were problematic. I think we just had another issue not too long ago with fence hopping, right? Have we looked into the different options? I know it was just last month or last meeting, but as part of like what we're working towards, especially the visibility, I think it's on, is that Albert Baxter? Right. There's a few different campuses. Have we looked into that?
We have looked at it for a couple of different schools and are looking at a couple of options.
Okay, great. And in security in general, I know we spoke a lot about security. What year is it? 24? Is it earlier this year and then late last year? Going into actually looking to vendors for private security. That conversation kind of fell off. But we did have a survey that went out to the community, and we had a workshop, and we were going through all the options. I think Ms. Garza and I went up to, I don't remember what city that was, but it was pretty far away. Where was it? We did the Beverly Hills one, then we did one further. So we put a lot of time into looking at what other campuses had when it comes to security. I know there's a lot of options out there. But when we had the discussion on the dais, and I just watched the board meeting and the discussion that we had up here, we talked a lot about the benefit of having a presence on our campuses, especially our secondary, at least one at at each high school. I would be very interested, if my colleagues agree, to getting pricing, and that pricing including armed and unarmed guards when going out for RFP. And bringing back to the board, because it's something that has been discussed a few times, and I think that it's something that would really benefit this entire conversation of security.
Can I just clarify real quick and make sure I got that?
Sure.
So what you are requesting is to go out for RFP for a secondary presence on our comprehensive campuses for armed versus unarmed security?
Yeah, I'd like both included in the RFP for that further discussion. I believe the survey that we went out, the survey is very favorable towards having an armed person on our secondary. It wasn't favorable for our elementary sites. I think we actually were surveying for like somebody, like having a person at every single site. I think where a lot of our issues is on the secondary, and having that presence in those relationships is really important. But because there'll be more conversation, at least going out to RFP, getting that going, and then having both pricing options as a part of that RFP would be great.
I'm in favor of that, just getting the information from both so we can look at it.
Ms. Garza?
Yes, I agree. Just kind of getting the information, like you said, would be great in our hands so that way we can go one way or the other.
Okay, we can work on that.
Cool. Thank you, Ms. Acevedo. Ms. Garza, you have, I think you said a couple more, a few more, a lot more. Go for it.
A few. So my next question is, you mentioned some scripts under the safety updates for the crisis team. So is the crisis team developing these scripts for our teachers, for whom exactly?
Yeah, so whoever would need to have those conversations with students, for example, so like we're coming up with different scenarios and some possible scripts that they can use, so depending on the situation.
Okay, and so would these be part of the folder for that one particular person, or are these going to be part of the folder for all staff?
It's going to be part of the whole guide, and so there'll be examples listed there based on different situations.
Okay, so the guide will go only to one particular person, though, or is it going to be disseminated to every staff member?
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but it will be accessible to whoever needs it. We just haven't gotten to the logistics parts of how we're going to roll it out, how is it going to be delivered, and all of that. We're still in the development phase.
Okay, when you decide how to move, if you can update the board on that, please.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. My next question is, in regards to the map that you have on here, it says school map developed by the crisis team as well. So would it be fair to say that if I go up to any teacher, any staff member, custodian, librarian, whomever it is, on any campus, that they would be able to point out the different parts within their school where there is perhaps the lineup of the students, where the nurses station would be? Like, is that the level of detail that we are looking for at this point for our teachers to be able to understand from this map and remember?
We're still working on that piece, but the maps are intended to show them where different situations or different important areas are. So, for example, the last time we had like a staging area, and this is where the nurse was, this is where the counselors were. So that's the type of information we're trying to include.
Okay, perfect. And that again will be given to, I'm assuming all staff,
Right.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is the reunification process. Are parents told of the process itself, where to line up, how to come in? What type of information are we giving parents?
So we are actually checking in with different school sites right now to see how they communicated that information. So I don't know if it's in their handbook or how they communicate that information to parents. So we are in the process of gathering that data.
Okay. So if it's I'm just assuming here, if it's in the handbook, I know parents are supposed to sign those at the beginning of the school year, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Right? Maybe they get a little busy, it gets lost. Is there a backup system that we're going to be utilizing to make sure and get at least as close to 100% for parents to understand this reunification process with their children?
We can work on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm actually all done. Thank you so much, board members.
Nope, you said you had 10. You have 2 more to go. Thank you, Ms. Garza. All right, thank you for the presentation and answering all the questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to major action. Let's begin with 11.1, election of members to the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization, County Committee. Sorry about all the coughing. I thought if I got a haircut, I'd feel better, but it didn't work. I move that the Board of Education cast a ballot for first I don't know how to read. First supervisorial. How do you say supervisorial? Say it. No, you do it. How do you say it?
Oh my gosh, let's go. Come on.
Supervisorial. District John Nunez. 4th District Donald LaPlante. 5th District Cherise Moore.
Second.
Do I have a motion?
You moved when you made the motion, didn't you?
No, I was just saying the item. Oh, you're right.
You had a second, so I
Roll
think
call.
you can call for a roll call.
Roll call.
Student member of
I can't wait
Jose.
till you're president.
Aye.
Mrs. Garza.
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield.
Aye. Our next major action item this evening is 11.2, bylaws for the Bellflower Unified School District Foundation. Do I have any questions or comments from the board? All right, do I have a motion?
You don't have any comments or questions?
Yes, sorry. I was looking at something else. Thank you
Miss-
for that.
Ms. Garza, go for it.
Yes, so we're talking about foundation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. My question was on there is something that says remove, page 3.
That's been corrected, Ms. Garza.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. At this point, I think that everything else is pretty much, well, actually, no, I do have a question. I understand that the foundation has to have a certain level of flexibility. But these bylaws here, will they also be able to give the community some type of oversight once we create the foundation itself?
Yeah, I can take this one. No, so once the foundation's in place with the board of directors, the community can have input through discussion with those directors in terms of, different needs that different locations might have, different school sites. But in terms of actual oversight, they will not. The only oversight provided is in the bylaws, that power which the Board of Education might have over the foundation. But even that is somewhat tenuous because they do have to operate as an independent entity to maintain their nonprofit status or their tax exempt status.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. If there is someone who wants to give a donation to this foundation, will there be a process for them to be able to give that out of a trust or maybe an endowment?
Yeah, the funds can pretty much come from any entity. It could be a corporation, it could be a trust, it could be an individual. Pretty standard with any nonprofit. You issue the funds, the check, and then at the end of the year, they disperse the letters, basically providing the tax exemption for the amount donated or contributed.
And when it's donated, can the person who is donating this money to the foundation be able to have restrictions on these, or is it just once you give it over, the directors decide how to divvy it out?
So anytime a donation is made, restrictions can be placed on that donation. The foundation can decide whether or not they want to accept that donation.
Okay, so if there are restrictions, then they can decide no or yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. And that's a really good question because I think that's something that really, when we first started talking about the foundation, was really big. people wanting to, donate to their alma mater, or maybe they have a passion for athletics, or they want to do something very specific. And in the past, I think it's been a struggle to do that directly with the district. So I think this gives another avenue for people to give back in a way that benefits students and makes it easier for the community to get involved in our district. I want to thank Vice President Stewart for the work that she did on the committee on this, and then Mayor Garza as well for getting this going. And Andrew, thank you. And I know there will be some supports helping the foundation get going. Thank you to staff for having it already up on the website. If anyone's interested in applying to be a board member, we'll be having a meeting going through the applications next month, but you can apply at the BUSD website, and there's 9 seats, and it'll be the inaugural board of that foundation. It's gonna be really important that we get 9 very passionate, dedicated individuals on that, so I encourage everybody, if you or if you know somebody, please apply. And that's the plug. Vice President Stewart.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Student Board Member Jose?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye. Oh, here we go. All right, moving on to the next major action item this evening, 11.3, the Governance Handbook. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Any?
I have about 25.
I know. Vice President Stewart.
First off, I want to say thank you so much. This was committee, but I know that our interim superintendent, Ms. Acevedo, she really knew that this was really important to us, and she went through and she did an amazing job. So I'm really excited about that. One thing that we talked about that I wanted to see in this was a profile of a graduate or a profile of a learner. We are going to explore that a little bit later on. So we're not going to look at that. The 2 things that I did want to see, and I haven't looked at this one, so it might be in there. Is the district calendar in there?
The district board meeting calendar will not be in there because
No, the district, the area.
the districting area, yes, that
Yes.
has been added, correct,
Okay.
yes.
And then another thing that I'd like to see in the future added is a governance calendar. Or maybe it can just be, because it's not going to be the same size, maybe it can just be given to someone, but that I would like to see that added as well. Merritt, do you have like specific questions? Because I have not been able to compare these totally right now.
Yes, I haven't been able to either, but it's okay. I'm going to go through my questions, and if you want to piggyback on them, you're more than welcome to jump in. So one of the other things that and you can tell me yes or no, was adding the current district organizational chart.
Yes, the link has been added.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Directions on how to access Assembly as a board member.
Actually, we provide the tutoring. Once they're brought on board, our own staff will train them how to do that.
How do we sign up? Because we never got that training.
Okay, we'll invite you to the meeting. Yeah, we can get you trained.
Thanks. And then also maybe adding the sexual harassment and mandated reporter training to be done by completed within the appropriate timelines, given by the school district. And then I also wanted to add,
I'm sorry, because we're gonna approve, I'm so sorry, Ms. Garza, because we're gonna approve this, or vote on this tonight, what were your first 2 corrections? Because I'll have to report that out when I do the motion.
Actually, I don't think she has a specific correction so far. I think she's just making comments, if I understand correctly.
Okay, okay.
so far, yes. This one, however, will be adding a bullet point for a statement on page 13. And so what I'm recommending is that we place something along the lines that says, board members are still able to ask new questions on the dais, to gather input or ask questions previously answered by staff for the benefit and awareness of the public.
It's been added.
It has been.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then maybe just adding the bylaws that accompany the 3 executive roles within the board.
That's been included in the very beginning. It's under the 9,000s.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then the ed code that states board members, if employed by an educational agency, or I believe we have a board policy, right? About if board members are,
This is the Form 700 that you're talking about? If they have, yes, that's included.
okay, perfect.
What page was that one?
I think it was page 14, wasn't it?
I'm going to see if I can find that for you real quick. Because I know we called out the form. Page 21.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Totally
Dr.
wrong.
Smith.
And then,
Can I piggyback off you
yes,
now?
please.
Mr. Sorego, on page 21, do you have this document in front of you? So at the end, we just wanted to remind board members that each year they have to do the annual statement of disclosure according to board policy, and we named it Form 700. Do you think it would be important to put the due date of when it's due, and if yes, do you know when we have to turn those in by? Is it December 31st?
No, so it would cover the period of January 1st to December 31st, but I believe filing isn't until about April. I'll pull it up real quick and give you the exact date, but it's end of April, I think.
Okay. And then on page 6, I'd like to ask the board how you feel about removing the word wisdom. It's a great value and it's a great shared belief, but I feel like it's a little egotistical to say that wisdom is one of our main priorities here as a board. That's just my opinion. I'd like to hear how you guys feel about that.
I feel like that's a wise decision.
Agreed.
Okay, so
April 1st.
April 1st? Okay.
So if that correction is being made on page 6, Mr. Critchfield will have to read that in.
Correct. So write all these down.
And I'm gonna apologize because I didn't ask this question before, and I probably should have. But district keys, is there? I didn't see it. Like something about when we get district keys, and if you lose your keys or if you like returning them, like that's a pretty big.
We typically explain that to the individual one-on-one. It's not part of your handbook.
Yeah, is that something? Because I know, like, if keys are misplaced or anything, like, there's certain things that that entails. I feel like that'd be a valuable thing to put in there so people know.
Okay, we can add a section. We don't have that currently. That can be something we do in the future, or did you want to add that right now somewhere?
We could add it right now.
Okay, let's find where it would be a good place.
Sorry, Lisa gave me the look. I know you asked me earlier if I had anything, but it just popped in. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know, I'm
keys.
thinking that maybe we add it to page 4. So page 4, we're kind of going through all the steps of the district. So maybe what we can do is add a description regarding key checkout to make
Yeah.
note on key requirements, something to that effect.
Yeah, because that way they could log that they got the keys, and then that way, upon returning them, I think that's better if it's more specific to that.
Okay, so how about on bottom of page 4, we write a statement, something to the effect of review key form requirements and checkout procedures.
I want to add that we also get that cute little badge that looks like a police officer badge that says school board, and I believe we have to turn those in at the end of our terms too, so you might maybe want to say don't lose that or add that to it. I know people in the public are probably, what is this? You should
I
see it.
know,
It's
they give us
really
like a-
cool, but we never even take it out because we don't use it.
She doesn't. I do. So if we could add, so just page 4 review key forms,
I have it written that it states review key form requirements and checkout procedures,
Okay.
including name badge.
Do you know what we're talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it, but people don't want to lose it, apparently, right?
We'll just add that in there. Brad, you got it? Your notes?
I got it. So far I just have page 6, strike wisdom, page 4, review key forms and check out procedures, especially the cool badge. Verbatim. Was there anything else?
No, nothing else so far.
Okay. Mr.
Sorry.
Jega?
There's 2 more deadlines on the Form 700 or filing periods. 30 days after assuming office, within 30 days, Form 700 must be filed. And then within 30 days of leaving office, a Form 700 must be filed.
Do you think that would be wise to add?
We took wisdom
Yes,
out.
please.
so.
I will
Okay,
forget
yeah.
that. I'm going to forget it.
So
So page 21.
Okay.
Say it again, sorry. Within 30 days of
Assuming office.
assuming office.
So that would be the day you take the oath of office.
Mhm.
And then within 30 days of leaving office.
Brad, do you have that one?
Yep.
Okay. So we have 3 so far you're going to read in.
Okay. Any other?
I have more. Do you want to go? Go ahead. I'm going to go page by page because I just feel like it would be easier. The only other one is on page 8. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's talking about newly elected board members. After each election, they will receive an orientation as far as this. And I know it was added in the CSBA Masters in Governance training. I'm going to be honest. I really think that we need to do that. And so I would like to see it added that it is recommended that board members complete the Masters in Governance CSBA courses within 1 to 2 years of being elected. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I believe these courses helped me quite a bit. I got great books with resources, and some people don't do it, and I think they should.
Yes, I agree. When I went through it myself, it was a little bit more restrictive, but I did find a lot of information that helped me understand my role.
So instead of receiving the information, I almost wonder if it should be a bullet point that we want our board members to do that. And I can read it the same way I just read it if you're okay with that, President Critchfield.
Are you thinking wording of just recommending it?
Correct, so that if you don't do it, we can't do anything to you for not doing it. But I think that people should do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So then to add to page 8 for the correction, it is recommended that board members complete, tell me when you're good, the Masters in Governance CSBA courses within 1 to 2 years of being elected. Or maybe seated, huh? Andrew, would it be better to say seated? Within being seated.
All right, so it is recommended that the board member complete the Master of Governance training within 2 years of being seated, unless your name is Brad Critchfield, which you can do both sections and not finish the third, which I know
I
that's
didn't
what
think
you're
he'd
getting
admit
at.
that. The
I know.
public, I didn't think he'd admit that. I wasn't trying to put him on the spot, but he just admitted
Hey,
it.
It's fine. They're
I love
long.
it. I
They're
love
long.
it.
I don't know. I'm an in-person learner. We have different learning styles. I like going to the conferences and learning.
That's why he was waiting to see if
I was
he
like, "Are
wanted. He
you
wanted
sure
to see
you-"
if we
I'm like,
recommended or required.
I know this is about me. I'm like, fine. All right, was that it? Any other one? Ms. Garza?
Yes. Let's see. I just saw it right now and I lost it. Sorry about that.
Do we have any more cough drops?
Over on It's where it states board members shall be, will conduct themselves in a dignified and professional manner. I'm a little conflicted on the word dignified. I think that professional, I'm trying to find
That's
it.
page 13, last bullet. Are you suggesting to just strike? Do you want it to remain professional manner? Conduct themselves in a professional manner?
Yes, just maybe just professional manner. Dignified, it assumes that we don't do that. If that's the way I'm reading it, but does anyone else agree?
No, I think. Is there a word that you think is more fitting for? Because I like the spirit of it's fine. I don't think it implies that we're not doing it. I feel fine with it, but if we want to change the wording to be more universal. Which bullet point is it?
Last bullet point.
On 13?
Page 13.
All board members. I mean, I feel like professional manner kind of like covers it. Like, does dignified
Yeah.
add anything to professional? I don't know.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, I feel like with professional, it covers it all.
So are you requesting to strike? What we can state is all board members are expected to present and conduct themselves in a professional manner. So strike, dignified, and.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
good with
know.
that.
I'm fine.
I don't care.
Yeah, professional manner is fine. Because I'm kind of silly. I don't know. Like dignified steps on me a little bit.
And then, thank you, board members.
That's all I have.
And
Although
then,
Ms. Aceveda had to do like 100 of them for me yesterday, so thank you for that too.
and then my next one would be just to confirm. At the end of the fourth bullet point, on page, I think it was 21 on my copy, about reporting out from when we get information and we come back to the board. I'm thinking that maybe we could strike through,
Ms. Garza, that's been updated. It currently states board members shall share with each other and the superintendent the information received from training sessions and conferences through an easily accessible manner.
okay, perfect. And then the next one I have is on page 23. I did recommend, but are we sticking with will base my decisions on fact rather than supposition, opinion, or public favor?
That again has been updated. Can you tell me on that page?
Page 23.
Yes.
Currently states I will base my decisions on facts gathered regarding any situation brought to my attention.
Okay. And then just confirming, the next one would be on page 24, the board will have 100% attendance. Was that one updated as well?
It was.
Okay, perfect. I think there are no more confirmations I need to make. Thank you so much. And really, thank you so much for, I can't express enough how you've helped us with this. Like, you guys have to know, she worked weekends on this, and we just really are very grateful that you are helping us, make sure that every board member is ready to be on the board with us.
My pleasure. I'm hoping to use it in the next week or so.
Yes, excited about that too. Thanks.
Sorry, I'll just ask it. Did it get updated on that board members are expected to attend events that they sign up for?
There is no language in here regarding that.
Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. Hold on one second. I need my own copy at this point. Hold on. No, I wrote it in my own notes. Sorry.
If you can let me know what page it's on,
I
I'll
know,
take a
I'm
look.
looking. Myra, do you remember what page that was? I'm looking. I'll get to it.
I don't think that it was anywhere. I think it was something that perhaps you wanted to add on.
I don't recall that being here.
Yeah.
In here.
I don't recall it either, but I think it's worth a discussion if that's what you want to do.
I'm fine with adding that wherever. I'm not sure which page, but
Oh, you know what? I have it on page 24. I'm wondering if we can add, the board will attend unless it is an emergency or sickness, all events they sign up for.
I agree.
It's not on there. It was something that I was thinking about adding.
Can I make a correction? I'm so sorry about that. But bullet 4 on that page reads, the board will attend unless an emergency or illness arises, all meetings and workshops, and be well prepared.
So then I'm wondering if maybe we can add events. It really is awful that people just sign up for events and they just never go. And we pay for some of these events. So I feel like it should be at least mentioned or, recommended that if you're signing up for events that you show up.
Okay, so it can read, we'll need to make an adjustment. The board will attend unless an emergency or illness arises, all meetings, events, and workshops, and be well prepared. So we're adding the word events into bullet number 4 on page 25.
Yes, please. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
all right. Do I have a motion to approve item 11.3 with the following corrections? Page 6, strike wisdom. Page 4, review key forms and checkout procedures for keys and badge. Page 21, Form 700 within 30 days of assuming office and within 30 days of leaving office. Page 8, it is recommended that board members complete the Masters in Governance training within 2 years of being seated. Page 13, strike dignified. Page 25, bullet number 4, add events. Was that all of them?
You got it.
Cool. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Jose,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Our last major action item this evening is item 11.4, Parent Engagement Academy, and I believe we have a presentation.
Yes, I'm going to turn over the introductions of our presenter to Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Interim Superintendent Azevedo. Board members, it is with great pleasure that we have prepared this item for your consideration this evening. Before you is an item to enter into a partnership with a new organization named the Parent Engagement Academy, specifically to provide parent education courses called Factor, Families Acting Towards Results, to our parents throughout our entire district. With us tonight is Parent Engagement Academy's founder and CEO, Maria Elena Meraz, and I've asked her to prepare a few slides this evening to share more with you and the community about what these Factor courses are all about and how they will be of benefit to our parents and our community. With that, I'd like to introduce you to Maria Elena Meraz. Welcome,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President of the Board, board members, Superintendent Acevedo, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Ryan Smith, members of the Cabinet, and community members. Nice to meet you all. My name, as Dr. Ryan mentioned, is Maria Meraz. I'm the CEO and founder of Parent Engagement Academy. And Parent Engagement Academy is a community-based nonprofit organization partnering with 16 different school districts and until this point serving a little bit more than 25,000 parents. Our goal is to help parents to understand how to navigate the school system and start talking and not dreaming, but put it on their kids' mind, the post-secondary education. And in order to do that, we learn, especially after pandemic, that it's not only academics. Our kids, they need much more. So through all these years, since 2007 that the organization started, we've been developing different programs. We have Factor, which is Families Acting Towards Result, which is our signature program. And then we've been, as I mentioned, 16 different school districts. We have 6 programs. And what we do is we offer a program for 5 consecutive weeks online. And in those, for an hour and a half once a week, 90 minutes once a week. And what we do is we talk to the different topics that the family are, keep asking to add to the program. We start with our signature program that has 3 modules, social emotional learning, understanding how do the school system function, explaining everything in detail about how to make an appointment with the teachers, with the counselor, what type of questions the parents should ask when they have parent-teaching conferences, or in addition, what else is important for families depends on the needs. If it's reclassification, understanding the Common Core state standards, understanding testing, understanding how important is it the student attend every single day to school and also participating in different committees. In addition to that, we move with the families when we got all that information to college readiness, how to prepare students since base elementary school with reading on grade level, math, being on math level, all that information that the families sometimes believe that the teachers and the school are gonna take care of that and parents don't have to do anything. So we try to explain to parents that it's so important that they need to be talking to their kids and also talking to the school and become partners with the school and participate in all the different activities at the school. And starting with the why. Why is so important that they do that is because they want a better life for their kids. So now we develop with and then the program is for 5 weeks, and what we offer to the school is a whole package. I've been working with principals for almost 29 years, and one of my points to convince the principals to provide the program is that it's gonna be a painless program. You don't have to worry about anything. We're gonna do recruitment, we're gonna prepare flyers, we're gonna call the families in their family's language and explain what is the program all about. So the program after pandemic moved to Zoom. Now an additional layer to our work is to explain families how to connect on Zoom. And the recruiters talks to the families if they don't have a computer or any other device, if most of the families, they have a phone. So how to download the Zoom application on their phone and how to connect. And we learning through all these 4.5 years that the families now not only are learning about our program and the information that we have, but are also learning about technology. And I believe this is very important at this point. Doctor's appointments, job interviews, meeting with teachers, all for that, parents need to be familiar with technology. We've been working with low-income families and families that they needed the most, and they, for many reasons that we know, they don't have access or the training to be more technology savvy. So with this program, we put in our little, or 2 cents, adding to this point. This is Factor 1, or signature programs. I mentioned the topics. In addition, college readiness, we talk about STEM, which is the careers of the future, and 21st century skills. We have Factor 2, which is social emotional learning, deeper bullying, cyberbullying, mindfulness, trauma, all that information that it's at this point very important for families. The families super get engaged when we're talking about these points. And then we move in the same 5 weeks with Factor 2 to STEM and technology era, algorithms, and the importance of mathematics, science, and going back to the kids beyond reading on grade level, math level, and college readiness. And then we develop also Factor 3, which is mindset for parents. versus growth mindset versus fixed mindset based on Carol Dweck work. And parents love this because it makes a difference when you talk to your kids in a different way. And we use the right words to encourage them to understand how important they are for you and how important is education. And the parents can learn about resilience and then they talk to their kids about that. Greed, the power of not yet, learning from mistakes. And we close this factor with college readiness in detail. And we put 2 lessons, 2 weeks, just for that because the parents keep asking in the previous 2 programs. We want more detail about college, high school graduation, and college entrance, and how to keep our kids in college, which is another big topic. In addition, we have Factor D, which is a dual language learning program for schools that offer this program. And parents, we did a collaboration with LAUSD with 10 schools in East LA that they offered this program. And the parents didn't want to go through this program. And the parents that speak Spanish, they don't want to go through the program. They don't have a clue how important it is that they are already bilingual. If they're in this kind of programs, they can be certified as a bilingual person and have the biliteracy seal. So we were very happy to be able to pilot the program, and now we continue working. In addition to that, we have a program for early childhood education that can target TK and kindergarten students. And this is a program that talks about the importance of talking to your kids, reading to your kids, pre-reading, pre-math, and then the transition to kindergarten and what the teachers are expecting and what the parents should expect from the school and what are gonna be the different roles. And in addition, we have a training for teachers because when the parents are ready to move, some teachers are amazing, ready to move forward, but some others need extra help. So this training is the only training that we offer in person. Normally it's in a Saturday. And what we do is the training is provided by principals because most of the teachers, they don't want to hear from other teachers how to do things. So a principal is kind of like a good formula. And then the school work on a plan, how to keep the parent engagement and set up goals long-term and short-term to continue the parent engagement at their. And here is some of the virtual graduation. How do the virtual graduation looks like? Parents love it. Parents are, keep telling us, thank you so much for providing the program virtually because we're reaching out parents that we never reached before. We're reaching out people. They turn the meeting on when they're driving, like a podcast. And then they tell us, I'm gonna drive, but I'm gonna be listening. So they register and they started driving. And then we see people in factories and their jobs doing things with their hands, but they're there. We go into people's bedrooms. We see parents sitting in their beds, listening to the classes. So I believe that the opportunity to provide the program in Zoom, at least for our organizations, double numbers, and we're serving around 6,000 parents per year at this moment, providing the program on Zoom. So here is how the program looks like, and I think that's my time. So thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions from the board.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that I teach at Zamboni Middle School and we use Factor at our school, and the parents, they absolutely love it. And you're so right. They get so excited and so proud when they graduate and they have their certificates, and it's been really great at my school, so I'm really excited to see this. I didn't know it was coming across our board meeting, but when I saw it, I was like, yes, we use them, and it's a really exciting thing. So thank you so much for what you guys do for our families.
Thank you. Thank you so much that you remember the program from somebody. I brought some pins from all of you, so you can.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
got them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Stewart. Madam Garza.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the contract, and I do have some questions for you. According to the contract date, it says that it's starting the 21st of October.
Well, I sent the contract back then. We should start by next year in January.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
So do we decide that day, or does Factor decide when they begin?
We would work together with Factor and our principals on a schedule and a calendar. Ms. Mraz is right. It probably at this point would be looking at a New Year rollout. And so what we would do is we work together to map out dates and calendars for all of our school sites.
Thank you. And then this contract states that it's for a total of 14 schools. And looking at that right now, the proposal is for 70, at a total, if I add up the costs under the total cost column, that comes to about $74,500. But when you gave us the proposal, where is it? I believe I read 100,000. 95,500, I'm sorry, it's on the third page. It's for 9,115 students. So there is a difference. What would you be using that difference for?
Oh, it's because I put different columns. So one column said the price for the 5-week programs for all the schools. But if you're gonna add the early childhood education program, it's gonna run simultaneously, but we're gonna have 2 additional facilitators that are gonna work with that curriculum for TK and kindergarten parents, and maybe a few parents from elementary that wanna do it, the early childhood education, and then another 2 facilitators in English and Spanish that will run the 5-week program. And if a school wants to add the dual language learning, we charge additional because it's additional 4 hours of training, and we need 2 more facilitators to do that training on the program.
And Mrs. Garza, if I may as well, if you take the total column and go straight down, that does add up to 95.5. And the reason for the 100,000 not to exceed amount was just in case there was a school that wanted to offer either the DLL or ECE that we didn't factor, no pun intended, factor into our proposal for the board this evening.
Okay. Then my next question, so is this, if we don't get all of these students or parents who do sign up, the 95,500, will it still be charged? Is that like a flat rate? Or will the district be getting back money if we don't have that full enrollment?
Well, I add the number because I was trying to see how district looks like. So that's why I thought that would be a good idea to add the number of total students. But what we charge is for services per school. And we normally recruit out of the total number of parents between 15 to 25%, depends of different factors. Most of the times is it's not always, but contribute a lot, the principal engagement. If the principal support, help, encourage, send the flyers, talk to the parents on the coffee with the principals and other meetings, we have more parents attending because it's not only us reaching out, but it's also the school reaching out. So in our retention number, it's 70 to 80% of the parents who register. But we hope that we can get everyone, but it's hard. Parent engagement is a hard thing to do because people is always busy or have other commitments, and doesn't mean that they don't care about their kids, but it's hard. So if we got 20%, it's super good, you know? And I've been doing this 29 years, and I know exactly what happens and not exactly, but most of the time I can guess how many parents are we gonna get when the recruiters start calling. And sometimes the recruiters said, oh, I got 120, 150. We know that half are gonna show up. So that's why we need to call the whole community of each school. And out of those numbers, we got half of the number that never answered or that disconnected. So it's a hard labor to call every single person. And we call for 5 days before the meeting, and then we keep calling every single week. It's part of the service. It's a follow-up. So it's not like we send the flyers and the parents show up. It's a lot of work that we have to do in preparation before during and after.
And Mrs. Garza, just to also add to that, essentially, if we were in a position where we didn't offer the number of classes we thought we would, we wouldn't be charged for that. That wouldn't be, we wouldn't pay for a class that we didn't actually offer. I think the more realistic scenario, familiar with Parent Engagement Academy and their program, is we'll probably be in a position where we might have to add more classes depending on the school, more than canceling one. But regardless, we wouldn't pay for a course we didn't actually receive.
Okay, so just to kind of explain a little bit, yeah, the 99 was our population, but basically each site, they're reaching out to parents trying to get them to come. So it could be 100 to 200, it could be, 50, it's whatever that site gets to participate, basically.
So if we have like 100% participation, then you would do 100% of the people.
Yeah, of course. If we have, I will be more than happy, because we work also with foundations that support our organization, and that will a good program, good problem, but we will figure it out. But if the school decided not to work with us, we don't charge you.
Okay.
It's maybe that's part of the
Yes.
question. Yes, but if the school decided to work with us, we cannot bring everyone, even. At least that you offer them something else, a raffle or things like that, but we don't do that. We don't give them anything. The parents attend because they understand the why is so important. That's why we have this team of recruiters that all of them are employees. We don't have any volunteers in the organization, because we value the work of the people, but in addition, we want to make sure that we know who's calling who, and they have that commitment with us.
And sorry, board members, one of the things I'd like to let you know before my questions started was that I did attend the presentation you had with Ms. Armstrong as well, and Dr. Smith. I loved the program. I just had questions on the contract itself, because that part we had not seen. So it does seem like we're going to have a lot of recruitment going on prior to us even starting next year, correct?
Well, actually, no. Well, the way that we work, and we've been working, is we meet with the principals, can be in person or by Zoom. So we meet with the principal, we explain every principal and their team, if they want to have more people in their meeting, how we're gonna be working. And then the school provide us with the target group that normally is the rosters, with very specific information. And then the recruiters start calling 2 weeks before. And we divide the roster in alphabetical order. Each recruiter got no more than 50 numbers. And they have 5 days to reach the parents. And when they talk to them, then after that, if they cannot reach, they start with text. And we also use constant contact to email everyone with the invitation. So we start the process 2 weeks before, with the principal like a month before. Just that way the principal can put us on the marquee, send the flyer, and use the resources they already have. They don't have to spend any additional resources in order to do the outreach. And then we take over 2 weeks before, we start making the phone calls. The day before the meeting, we call them again for a reminder, and the day of the meeting, we send the link in between 5:30 and 6. So that's how we work. If we do it too in advance, people forget about it.
Okay.
So,
So I was just wondering how much of our principal's time would be.
They don't have to worry. Just besides provide us with the rosters and send the flyers and put it on the marquee and talk about us in their meetings, we take over the recruitment and the follow-up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for
And we
answering the
also
questions.
provide the diplomas for the parents. We send the diplomas home, and we send the principals all the details information week by week. The principals receive 2 emails every week. One, remind them about promoting the program, and another email after the meeting with a link with the attendance in Excel, a chat with all the parents' comments, and also pictures. That we take pictures for attendance. That way the principals can see week by week how many people attend.
Okay. And I know that my last one, I swear. One of the things I did ask you was, how will we gauge or how will we track its success? And so the way I define success of the board member is if we're starting to see that parents are using those skills that they're acquiring through your program. So my question to you was, could we run maybe a longitudinal study on our kids and track them to see, are they having more success? Are parents able to navigate our system better? Is that a possibility?
That is something that we certainly could work together with Parent Engagement Academy to do, especially if we provided the courses in the long run. The nice part is we'll know which parent participants there were, and if we have parents that are participating, for example, at elementary level, we could see over the course of 3, 4, 5 years what types of progress their students are making. We could see what kind of attendance improvements there are. We could also do some anecdotal data from our counseling teams, our principal teams, even our teachers, about how much parent engagement and parent connection has increased. There's a lot of different metrics that we could use. We could potentially even connect our Healthy Kids survey into that as well, our results from there as well. If we use the parent module, that'd be a good one to use as well, but there's other ways to do that. And I'm sure Maria probably has some additional ideas on that as well.
We purchased a software specifically for parents registration and also to help us to apply a survey on Zoom. That program create a link. So the parents click on the link and they complete a survey, and the program analyze the data and can report school by school and also by the district what are the knowledge of the parents gained throughout the program. So we have that available every single program. Now, in the years that I mentioned that I've been working with parents, I noticed that when the schools offer parent trainings like my organization and others organizations, I see that after 3 years of continue working with the schools is when you start seeing that the culture of the school change, because the parent get used to and feel more comfortable to approach to the school, participate in the different activities, committees, and also in the middle school or high schools, I getting a lot of phone calls from counselors asking when you guys are gonna start, because it's much easier to work with the parents who already went through a training and understand the importance of navigate the school system and college readiness versus them have to start calling from scratch everyone to see, I need to talk to your kids, I need to talk to you, and all those kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions myself.
Sure.
First, so the quote is based off of that enrollment number of what did we have down here? 9,915. Is that our current enrollment?
It's pretty close. The enrollment figures, though, are there more as a reference than anything in terms of when you look at what's offered at each course. So, for example, when you look at Albert Baxter, the Factor course itself is the cost of the courses are fixed. And so the approach that Parent Engagement Academy takes is to offer a course in both English and Spanish. And then, so essentially what you have laid out are those for each of the school sites. Factor ECE, for example, is a separate course from Factor 1. And then for our high schools, those are the ones that, because the high schools are just bigger, there's more Factor classes offered there. There's 4 total, for example, at at Mayfair High School, 2 of which would be in Spanish, 2 of which would be English. And again, it's not a direct connection to the enrollment as much as it is just a reference to the enrollment.
Okay. And I see class minimum is 40 participants.
Well, we need the schools to commit for 40 parents. If let's see that we don't have 40, we charge a flat fee for 40. Because even though that we don't get the 40 parents, we have to pay recruiters, facilitators, coordinators, insurance, and all the expenses that cost to run the program.
Right.
But if we connect with with the principals, and when we start out doing the outreach in a district with this population, and we believe that we can have more than 40 in each of the sites.
Right.
But the other thing is that, let's see that the school said, I prefer to have 2 classes in Spanish instead of 1 English and 1 Spanish. We're flexible on that. Any of the school, we have a lot of parents in one school that we need to open probably 3 sessions, 2 in Spanish and 1 in English, means 3 different links. And parents in Spanish from A through M will go through one, and N through Z another one, and the English speakers in another link. We will do that in order to balance maybe a school that doesn't have a lot of parents. We do
Right.
that when we have a contract with the districts.
Right. What I'm curious about is so it says a minimum of 40 parents.
We have to put a number in order for the
Right.
schools. If we have less, we charge that, but if we have more.
So what's the charge that's here? Is this the 40?
It's $6,000 flat. If we have 100, we will charge 6,000. If we have 40, we have to charge 6,000.
So it's 6,000 regardless of how many are there. And then what's the maximum? Like at what point do you open up a second?
We try to keep it in 30, no more than 35, because we want the parents to have the opportunity to participate. And parents on Zoom participate a lot. I probably because they have the camera off, and they like to read slides, they like to be part of the conversation. We do a lot of brainstorming, and the parents attend and participate.
Right. I really do apologize. So it says minimum of 40, but you would open up a second class if they at around 35.
Let's see that we have 35 parents. Let's see that when we do the outreach, we have a reported 200 people
Okay.
that say yes. So we're gonna have 3 facilitators ready.
3.
And then we'll be, because we're not gonna have 200, we're probably gonna have 100. So, and then we're gonna have like 35 parents and one facilitator, another 35 with another one, and another 35 with another one.
Okay.
And when the recruiters, that they got the numbers, the coordinators assign a link to all these recruiters. They're gonna send a link to this number of parents that they already contact.
Okay. I'm just curious because like in a contract, like the minimum and maximum per class. So it sounds like it's pretty fluid.
We don't have maximum because we charge like a flat fee. And if we got, but the idea, the minimum of 40, it's a number that we come out long time ago.
Okay, but in the
and stay there.
Yeah, in number 5 it says additional classes. Schools wishing to open additional classes can do so for a fee of $2,000. So is
Yes,
that
if the school wants to have, let's see that, okay, we want the dual language program in addition, or we want another curriculum in addition to all that.
okay? Let's see. Have we? I think it's kind of odd to have. I love the parent engagement. Everything you're saying, I love it, and I think we need more of it. And I'm supportive in a very general sense. I'm curious, the timeline, this wouldn't start till next year?
I think she said January, President Critchfield.
Yeah, considering considering the time of year, we're on the verge of Thanksgiving, and December's really got 2 weeks in it. So we wouldn't really be able to ramp up and get classes offered before the holidays. But the goal would be January, so we could get things ramped up and working and get courses probably offered by the end of January, February for sure. And then they'd run throughout the semester.
Okay, I'm surprised that we're getting a presentation on an action item rather than having a presentation to discuss before it comes back as a contract. Is this something that's urgent?
Well, it depends on how you would define urgency. I won't define that. I think that's really up to the board to how to define the urgency piece. Our intention with bringing this to you tonight was to be able to share information about a program that we thought would be of benefit to our parents and our community, with the intention of bringing a contract for the board to consider approving.
Right, I understand. What I'd be curious, I would love to hear from districts that have explored the program and done it. I feel like hearing from parents that have actually been in it is probably the most beneficial thing that we could hear.
What would you like to know? Because I use it at my site right now.
Okay. So I want to hear from parents of how much engagement they had and what they got out of it.
Well, I can't do that, but I want to say that I think this is an amazing program. I understand why you guys are bringing it to us. You guys are the experts. You guys did the research. You thought this would help our district, and that's why it's on our agenda. And I think it's great, and I hope that we approve it because the parents that I know, that I talk to at my site, they love it. They are so excited about it. I mean, we do it in our multi-purpose room, and we have so many parents come, and I don't know. I'm not understanding, but I think this is an amazing program. Oh yeah, they're so excited about it. I mean, and the kids are excited for there's like a sense of pride, and it's a sense of them being role models for their children, and our students are excited, and our parents are excited, and I think it's a really cool program.
If it is okay with the board, I can offer a personal testimonial myself. I don't love to do that. I introduced Factor in Paramount Unified School District when I was an assistant superintendent there. I first encountered Factor when I was a young rookie principal with more hair. And I've also worked with them in other districts, and how Parent Engagement Academy has kind of grown and gotten into districts, including LA Unified. How many districts are you with now? So seeing the growth has been pretty rewarding. But in every district that I've been where we've offered the program, to Ms. Stewart's point, it's incredibly favorable with parents. And if anything, we're kind of put in a spot where they want more. Factor 1 doesn't cut it, which I'm sure is probably what led to the development of Factor 2, which when we first met wasn't even a thing. But the parents really, really are engaged with it, and they attend. And from the principal perspective, it really, when Ms. Mraz says it's turnkey, she's not kidding. One of the hardest things for a principal or staff to do is recruit, get parents to attend, follow up. That's why, a lot of our approaches, typically when it comes to parent engagement, are more workshop oriented. We offer a periodic workshop, tell people, and then you have 5 parents come or 10 parents come. Maybe it's a little bigger depending on the topic or the subject. But by and large, that's kind of what you get consistently. All of that changes with Factor, and all of it changes when you have a Zoom room full of parents that are highly engaged. And the most rewarding part that I've personally been affiliated with is indeed that graduation ceremony. I remember the last one that I had participated in as a district administrator, not a principal. Literally, there was a parent who was working a shift as a nurse, and she's walking through the halls giving her testimonial on her cell phone about how the experience really changed everything for her with her understanding of education and our school system and those kinds of things. And those kinds of moments are incredibly validating, and as I know the board knows. Part of the motivation to bring this to the board this evening and to try to get something moving sooner than later is in my short time getting to know the board. I've gotten to know that parent engagement is very important to all of you. All 5 of you share that in common, and finding ways to make sure that our parents feel connected to our schools and connected to what our educators do each and every day is of incredible importance. I've also seen that we are in need of a more consistent, uniform, unified approach to certain things, and I see Factor as being an opportunity for us to kind of reset our approach and build some consistency across the district, which I think in the long run will help us with our school and district culture.
Thank you, Ryan. I think that's why it's kind of surprising, because I'm kind of used to sites individually kind of having things come up, but like to do this district-wide right off the bat is kind of surprising. What type of relationship do you build with the local PTAs? Do they kind of help out, support? Is there outreach effort there?
Your mic is not on.
Your microphone.
Thank you. No, we don't work with the PTAs. We work directly with the principals, the parent liaisons, any other administrators at the schools that are in charge of parent engagement. And what we put all our efforts and resources is in reaching out parents, provide the information that they need, and follow up. That's really the key.
Right.
That we keep calling parents. And in case of a parent miss a class, we call them, find out if there is a reason. If they say, well, whatever happens, we can be able to send them to virtually to another school another day. We work Monday through Thursdays. The programs are offered 6 to 7:30. And if I may add to your previous questions, why not? I'm thinking that Dr. Smith was probably thinking about timing. And if you believe that this is a good option for your school district, and if you approve it, we can start working on planning because it's a process. We need to outreach the principals, meet with the principals, explain the principles in detail, send them the PowerPoints, talking to them about that information, and that takes time. And in order to serve all the schools in one semester, we needed to start right away in January. Other than that, we're not going to be able to because we have other commitment with other districts.
Got it. That makes sense. And you said a lot of the success depends on how well you work with the individual site principals.
It's part of, the program. The parents, they need to know how to help their kids.
Right.
And they need to know how to talk to them. They need to have enough tools to talk to them about post-secondary education. Right. We serve a lot of parents that they have third grade as an average of education, many of them, not all of them. So for many of the parents, thinking or dream about college, it's like an impossible thing. And when we start talking to them about if you work with your kids now and with the school as a partner, and we meet with the teachers, and don't think about because you never finished school or you don't know the language, or in this case now the legal status, that it's been a barrier for so many years and now it's a concern for many families. So when you explain the parents that why they need to put everything away, and we give them the tools to help to not to help, but start dreaming
Right.
and put it on their kids. That opportunity makes a total change.
So, but I'm guessing you having support from the site principals is a helpful thing. So my question is more, will this be a mandate for principals to actually support in whatever capacity, or is it optional?
No, we would be taking a uniform approach to this. So Factor would be one of our lead parent engagement programs. And it would be a combination of school site leadership. Obviously, they're on the front lines with connecting with Maria and getting in contact with the parents. We also would have a designee here at the district that would be responsible for helping drive that process.
Okay, cool. Thank you for answering those questions.
My pleasure.
If it helps any, President Critchfield, Ms. Armstrong and I did go through the meeting with her, and we did see that there would be a lot of benefits to adopting this program in our district. There are a lot of parents who, like you stated, need that flexibility to be able to attend these types of classes, and it's almost like giving that parent the key to unlock our system. It really helps them navigate it, because as a parent who maybe English is their second language and hasn't been able to go through our educational system, it's really important that they have those tools to be able to support their student.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I'm just curious what your concerns are.
I literally just asked them. And thank you for answering
No
again.
problem.
Appreciate it.
You asked a lot of questions, but I didn't hear any concerns, and I just feel like as board members, if we want to see something in a presentation, for instance, if you want them to bring parents or things like that, we've had these for over a week. I think it would be nice to ask the staff to direct what you want instead of saying it at the time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your thoughts, Vice President Stewart.
You're
All right.
welcome.
Where's that handbook at? Jesus. All right.
It probably, we might say no interrupting in there, or maybe we should go back and add, oh, we already voted on it.
Thank you very much. All right. Do I have a motion on?
I motion to approve.
For 11.4.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Ojose,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Do we have any items to withhold from the consent agenda this evening?
No.
Hearing none.
I do. I'm sorry. I was a little late. 12.6, employment of certificated, actually, no, it's the next one. Sorry, 12.11, classified staffing changes.
Great. Anything else? All
Sorry, can I amend that?
Go for
I'm
it.
sorry. It's 12.9, the discontinuance of service of classified personnel. That's the one.
12.9. Final answer?
Yes, that is my final answer.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda and withhold item 12.9?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Student Member Ojose,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield.
Aye. Moving on to the first item withheld, item 12.9, and that is discontinuance of service to classified personnel. Any questions, comments from the board?
Yes, I just have one question. On this, under the discontinuous, I see that we have a lot of resignations. I'm wondering, is this a result of maybe some changes within that area? The resignations of, I think it's maybe about 11, 13 people.
If I can jump in, each one, and Dr. Smith, of course, jump in as well. Each one of those resignations, they're from different positions, different departments. I do see 2 that are instructional assistants on that list, or maybe 3, but they're from different locations. So I'm not quite sure if you mean they're coming all from one department.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering, do we know why they're leaving? Like, is there something that maybe on our side we can do better? Or maybe do we know the reasons why?
So at the moment, no. And I do think, I'm glad that you asked the question, because I do think one of the things that will be important for us is to provide some kind of exit survey. I mean, obviously, when, retirement's a retirement. But beyond that, when we have employees that leave, whether it's 7 months in, 2 years in, 3 years in, I think it would be helpful to know, at least, to the extent they're willing to share, what maybe some of the reasons are. Typically, I think we'll find that they're relocations, or they decided to go into a different line of work, but it's not always that. And so that would be helpful feedback for us. And that's something that I'd like to work with Dr. Knox on the certificated end, and our executive director on the classified end, to have something in place that would be able to allow us to collect some of that data, so it helps us inform our process. Our CSE, one of our CSEA vice presidents said it really well. We're interested in making sure that we're retaining all of our employees, and there's various ways we do that. So some of that feedback that we would get on the way out would be really helpful to us, and that is something that we will work on.
Okay. Any thoughts about, around what, I'm not holding you to it, but how long would that take to develop the survey?
I don't think it would take particularly long, especially since it sounds like this is of interest to the board, which is helpful feedback for us. That'll help us prioritize that. So that's something Dr. Knox and I can work on really right away. And whatever we develop for certificated, is probably going to end up being somewhat similar to classified, though there will be some differences. I'd also like, as we do that, to get some feedback from our association leaders, just in terms of what they think. But we can probably have a relatively quick turnaround on something like that. We'll obviously have to figure out some of the logistics around, how do we get it to people? What do we do? What's our process in terms of resignation? In answering some of your questions, you had an inquiry earlier about, maybe the timing of, why are late November resignations coming in November. That kind of sparked some questions about how do people submit resignations, who do they submit resignations to, and just in hearing some of that feedback, there's some things that we need to clean up on our process and our end to make sure that that process is a little bit more efficient and a little bit more centralized, and which would introduce the opportunity to be able to say, well, here also, please make sure you complete this survey or this form on the way out, so we can have that. There's also a possibility of including exit interviews in that as well. Maybe not for everybody, but for at least some, or maybe those that request it, we could potentially arrange that as well. So that's something Dr. Knox and I will happily work on, and then we'll kind of let it get some momentum from there.
Okay, yes, I'd be very interested to look at the final product, so that way we can start finding out, is it maybe a systemic, issue that we need to maybe look at? At this point, we don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. I would love to see that. Thank you so much.
That would be valuable data for all of us, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garza, and I'd be in support of that as well. I think exit interviews and surveys, they're going to be honest. So, that's probably the most honest, feedback you're going to get is on the way out. So I think that'd be very beneficial. So thank you for that. Do I have a motion to approve item 12.9, discontinuance of personnel?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Student Board Member Ojose,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield.
Aye. Moving on to board communications. This is where the board will communicate our board reports, and we'll begin with not here, Board Clerk Garza.
All right, let me find it. I know it's somewhere underneath all these papers. Sorry.
Or would you like me to, we could,
Yes, please.
Student Board Member Ojose, would you like to kick it off?
Sure.
All right, go for it.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. Tonight, the only thing that I'd like to highlight is a few topics that came up during my recent student advisory meeting. In the meeting, we talked about a new textbook adoption process of world languages, and there will be a new world language textbook adoption process that will happen and will be fully enforced by 2030. Talking with my peers at school, I realized students express more in lessons when they are interactive and digital. In the meeting, we also talked about school meals and student requests on certain food items. And talking with Somerset, Bellflower, and Los Flores, we discussed certain things we could implement, such as grab-and-goes, breakfast, and the discussion of different and new food items. But yeah, that's all for me, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Board Member Garza.
I'm ready now. Thank you.
All right, go
I'm
for
sorry. At first, I want to apologize. I've been a little scatterbrained today. I'm not sure why. But it is a little lengthy, so please bear with me again. So I'd like to start by saying thank you to all the veterans in our community for your service. You chose to run into danger to protect our freedoms abroad and domestically. For that, I and my family are eternally grateful. I also want to congratulate our newest board member elect, Marina Cintron, who will be joining us soon on December 13. Please come by on that day and celebrate our outgoing president and our newest board member. I also was able to be part of the Red Ribbon judging on October 25. This was the first time I have been able to be part of this group. It was a lot of fun, and I'm very proud of all our schools and students. But I don't think I was a very good judge because I had a lot of ties with when I finally looked at all my scores. I probably wasn't very helpful at that point. I just wanted to give them all a trophy. And then I also attended Cerritos College's outgoing trustee reception for Marissa Perez on October 22. There was a Dodger game on that evening, but it was still clear that the honorable trustee, Marissa Perez, had many deep and long-lasting relationships with the people of her community for 20 plus years. Thank you for your service to our BUSD students who go on in their academic journey with Cerritos College. Fortunately for us, there is a possibility that Mrs. Perez will continue to support our BUSD family as part of our newest Personnel Commission member when the board ratifies her selection on November 19 at 5 p.m. here in our boardroom. I invite you to participate if you are interested and available that night. Then on November 5th, I attended the Cerritos College K-12 Partners in Education with Interim Superintendent Acevedo and Ms. Carter. It actually was the first time that I had ever attended, and it was very educational to me to see the process at the college level as our district works in partnership with Cerritos College and continues to provide the dual enrollment and the Cerritos College Promise opportunities to our BSD students. It was a great opportunity. I never really get to see from the K-12 and the transition into the actual college environment, and I'd love to join you again next time. On November 6th, I attended the Award of Valor along with President Critchfield, Dr. Smith, Ms. Carter, Ms. Ulloa, and Mrs. Reyes. It was a great event. Just be careful with the vegetarian meal. Now I'd like to make 2 requests of our staff, if the majority of my colleagues agree with me. As much as it pains me to start this process, I'd like to request the addition of our superintendent search to be placed on our upcoming meeting as a discussion item. The purpose is for our board to talk about what we would like to see as we go through this process, and on that same meeting, if staff can please bring forward a rough draft outline of the steps that need to be taken for the purpose of giving staff direction and attaching due dates together as a governance team as we embark on this journey once again and keep our promise to our BUSD community. And I will hand over my notes so that way you get all of that. But if you have any questions.
What was the date on that?
On our next meeting. So it would be in a regular board meeting.
Okay,
So-
I think currently it's planned for the very first thing we're gonna do on the 13th. So we're gonna actually put it on the reorg. So when we get our new board, it's the first thing that we're doing that day.
Okay, so that will be, is that something we can do on a special meeting?
December 13th is a regular meeting. So
Oh.
tonight it was approved that you have 2 regular meetings in
Okay.
the month of December, the 12th and the 13th.
Okay, so it'll be on the 13th meeting. So it's a regular, okay. I thought that, I'm a little confused. I thought the 12th was the regular meeting.
Confused too.
December 12th is your traditional standard regular meeting where a majority of your items will be covered. And we have now called another regular meeting to be able to do your reorganization and your swearing in of your new board member. So if I understand correctly, we're also adding one other agenda item to that meeting, and that's the superintendent search. And at that meeting, you want a rough draft of possible steps that the board would look at, if I understand that correctly.
Correct.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought it was a special meeting and would only encompass the reorg and the swearing in of the new.
We changed that to make sure that that was done during a regular meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification. So my second request is that we also add on an item for discussion to give staff direction on how we can better streamline and clean our contracts and vendors matrix. Every meeting, we are given new contracts or contracts to be renewed on our matrix, but we don't always have the contract that we are approving or renewing in front of us. So I've never really been comfortable with that process. I'm wondering if we can somehow kind of streamline that so that way we can, you know, go through this process and maybe make it a little bit easier for us to see what we are renewing as it's coming up in our board agendas. I believe that maybe this, I also was thinking that perhaps at that point we can discuss a repository of contracts that maybe board members can access whenever they have questions, and then make that available to us. So that way we are not kind of constantly asking you, can I have a copy of this? You know, do you have a copy? So that way we can go ahead and maybe make your time a little bit more efficient and expedient. And then if that's okay with you, board members. You can add on.
Yeah, I think
subtract.
I was actually going to mention that too about the having copies of our contracts as we approve them. Because I know right now we basically get the contract matrix, but what's actually in the contract as far as purview of oversight of the board, I think would be a great thing. So I'm totally in favor of that. As far as a repository, I guess it just depends on what staff would recommend would be the most efficient and effective to supply us with those contracts, whether that's like a Friday memo or before a meeting or as a part of the board book. I'll leave that to
Well, what I was thinking was that we would have access as board members to these contracts whenever we had questions, so that way we can kind of look at them and see them. You know, if maybe I'm thinking about something dealing with factor and I can't recall what the contract said because I don't have it in front of me, maybe I can just go and actually access it. And if we needed to maybe have some oversight of it, if that's the concern, then we can add on maybe a layer of who accesses it when it, like a timestamp.
Can I jump in here maybe for a moment and just say, I'm listening to what you're discussing up there, but I think at this point, what you're interested in is more information about how you can move forward looking and approving contracts, so maybe a different type of process. Is that something that we could look into and maybe provide you some information versus putting it on as a board item at this particular moment? Because I think that will take us some time to look into what that could look like.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't think I included that in here, but I would absolutely agree that there will be time that is needed to do this. But my expectation was not in the next regular board meeting. It's obviously going to take some time, but I would like to see it come back as a discussion item, so that way we kind of iron out those issues, those details.
So you're asking us to investigate maybe different options of our contract approval process. Does that sound correct? Yes?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Okay. We can do that.
Thank you. And just finally, I want to report, I will be going back to work as a school teacher as of December 2nd. Thankfully, my son is doing well with his recovery, and I am now able to return.
I'm sorry, real quick, Ms. Garza. To the gentleman in the audience, if you could please bring your talking elsewhere, sit down. If you're going to continue to be disruptive, you'll be escorted out. Thank you. Sorry about that, Ms. Garza. Go ahead.
No problem. Where was I? Yes, so I will be going back. I had reported earlier that I actually was going to have the whole school year off, but my son thankfully is doing well. So I will be returning to my position with Long Beach Unified. I also would love to extend an invitation tomorrow for you to come over and join me at Mayfair game versus Palos Verdes. And then also December 1st to come on over and line the street route parade as we all cheer on our 605 All-Star Band parade. Thank you so much. Wishing everyone a safe and restful Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Vice President Stewart.
Good evening. Last meeting, I forgot to mention that President Critchfield and I took a visit to Bay Center, so I wanted to talk about that and ATC. It was just a really good visit with a lot of positives, and the ATC teachers and the aides and everyone there just does a really good job, so thank you for that. I do believe we need to look at these facilities a little bit closer. There are some large unused areas next to the classrooms that could be used for the students, I believe, and so I hope that we look into that, look at maybe more shade for our ATC students, and maybe some more activities outside. It's a beautiful little back area, but there's not a lot for our kids and our adults to do. But I do like that we're creating a wellness and sensory room, and I do like the mock apartment. I think it's really cool that they can learn how to maneuver in a kitchen and a home, and I think that's a good addition. I attended the outgoing reception dinner for Marisa Perez at Cerritos College. I want to personally thank her for just being a mentor to me. She is brilliant and she's so smart, and I'm just lucky that I've had 2 years to be able to collaborate with her. I am fortunate enough to have and to get her advice and her guidance on so many things, and so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate her so much. On Tuesday, I watched the election results, and I was really disappointed and really sad that our students and community did not have a chance to obtain a bond measure for our kids. So I want to speak on it one more time. The fact that there were 26 school districts that had a bond on the ballot, and 22 of those 26 ballot measures passed, and the 4 that didn't, 3 out of the 4 of those, they didn't get the 55% majority, but they had a majority. They were like 52, 53%. And we saw that the state matching bond actually passed as well, and we were told about this, we were educated about this, and the last time I looked, it was 61% to 38%, and I don't know, it's just really disappointing to me. We were told how crucial it would be. We were presented from our staff how important this would be for our facilities, for our children, and some of us didn't listen to the experts. We didn't let our community voice their opinion, and that was super disappointing. So just to kind of put it in context, Antelope Valley, Arcadia, Burbank, Compton, East Whittier, El Monte, Hermosa Beach, Lancaster, LA Unified, Los Nietos, Linwood, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes Peninsula, Paramount, Pasadena, Pomona, Redondo Beach, San Gabriel Unified, San Marino, Santa Monica, Malibu, which passed 2 bonds, Whittier City, as well as Compton Junior College, Glendale, Long Beach City, Mount Sac, and Rio Hondo all passed bonds that night. And it's really disappointing that we didn't, and that we didn't even give our voters a chance to actually voice their opinions. Looking at those results, you cannot tell me that our community members aren't similar or in a better position than some of those areas to help with education. And so to my colleagues, board members Armstrong and Dr. Alhassan, you justified your reasoning for voting no, but I hope that if you ever get to go back and redo that decision again, that you put children first. Next, on November 7th, 8th, and 9th, I attended the California School Black Educators Conference in San Diego. I always enjoy this conference. The keynote speaker was Elijah Devon, and he was one of the best speakers I've ever seen in a conference. His story of an educational journey that he's taken growing up in Compton and attending Harvard, Oxford, and he's currently at the Yale School of Law. He just inspired us with stories of hope, stories of struggle, growth, and how he overcame a lot of obstacles by using education and the support of his family to find success continuously. He is the youngest speechwriter that he wrote for the president, and he continues to do amazing things, and I just was so blessed to be able to hear him speak. I attended a workshop on effective school board frameworks for improving student outcomes, which was outstanding, and it gave me some new ideas for our district and how we monitor our student outcomes, and I attended a workshop on AI and really focused on ChatGPT. I also made some great connections with other board members and teachers. So again, the California Association of Black School Educators is just a really good thing, and I encourage some of my other board members to attend in the future. Yesterday, I attended our Cal Apps meeting. We received a presentation for 2 of our law enforcement students. They demonstrated how to get a suspect patted down and how to handcuff them, and we received an update from our director, Mrs. Whitney, on our registration numbers. Currently, culinary arts and health-related occupations and law enforcement were the 3 classes that are most desired by by our students here in the Cal Apps program. Lastly, I want to just say congratulations. We have a new boys varsity football coach at Bellflower High School, Keith Miller. It was a rough year this year as an alumni, watching our team go 0-2 after back-to-back league championships. So I'm thankful for the new leadership, and I will speak for myself and many alumni that I talked to who have reached out to me that we are super excited for this transition to begin and for Coach Miller to come back and lead our program. Also, I wanted to ask, I just wrote this in, I wanted to ask our student board member, if you can reach out to students, if you can somehow get this out on your campus and ask our other student board members to get this on campus, maybe in the announcements or something, that we are gonna have a public hearing on cell phones. This is the time for students to be able, and I know people might be cringing, like, no, she did not invite 5,000 kids, but I am. I would really like to hear people come out and give their opinions so that I can make a more educated decision on what we should do, because this is a tough one and people are going to be, I think, very excited but very, frustrated. There's going to be a lot of emotions, I think, with the cell phone. So if you could reach out to students, please ask them to come to our public hearing and to talk about this issue. And I hope everyone had a happy Veterans Day. I want to just thank again our military and everyone who has chosen to serve our country. I appreciate you tremendously. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice President Stewart. Vice President Stewart's right. So I went to the CASB conference as well. The topics were the AI in education, project-based learning, some strategic government stuff, a lot of dancing. It was a good time, great conference. Glad we went. A lot of networking, a lot of talking to other districts. And I think that's something that I hope all board members really engage in, of like talking to other districts, their boards, getting ideas, bringing them back to our district. I talked to a few different people that were a part of different foundations and just really picking their brains and getting that expertise there, and then bringing that knowledge back to make better decisions is really important. It was a great conference. I'm looking forward to a CSBA, which is in about 2 weeks, I think. But great time. I'm glad Miss Stewart pushed me to go. It was a good time. Foundation, the application's up. I already did my plug earlier, but the application is on the BUSD website. So I'm hoping we get a nice group of people to apply and be a part of that. I went to the Mayfair Downey football game, and what's cool about that is not only did we win, but I was able to tour the Downey Stadium facility with the Principal Diaz. And it's just nice that I feel the excitement coming from him and the team, and just being able to visualize what that could look like over at Mayfair. Went to the Lakewood Award of Valor event. That's always great. I love being a part of our cities that really appreciate the dedication of law enforcement, and they don't shy away from that. They're very big on community safety, and they value it and invest in it. And I love going to those events. It's one of my favorite ones that the city throws every year. What else? Bond effort. I was gonna say similar to my colleague, I don't want to look in the rearview mirror too long, but I will say that it's still a shame that we didn't go out, but I'm going to be a big advocate for going out for a bond in 26, and I'm just going to say that right now because we need it. We missed an opportunity. It's going to be even harder in a midterm, and they told us that when they presented on it before, and we missed that opportunity, but we won't miss it again, and I think it's up to all of us, staff, board colleagues, to really not only get that bond on the 26th, but also earn the vote of everybody in our community, because they'll know that not only do we need it, but our kids deserve it. So also, last thing, congratulations to Marina Cintron for a decisive win, and thank you very much to our BTA and our CSEA for all the work you guys did. You were out there on the front lines walking. You really poured a lot into this, and I'm grateful for all the effort that you, our teachers, and our classified did, and we're going to make this district the best it could possibly be because of your help. So thank you. And with that, And actually, we will be having a short, well,
You have one information item, and then I believe you're going back into closed session.
right. Does the board have any questions regarding the informational item? No? Okay, at this time, board will recess back to closed session. There'll be no further action taken in open session. Thank you. Have a good night. Board will now reconvene in open session at 10:01 p.m. And at this time, if there's no oh wait, you need to read out? Board Clerk Meyer Garza will read out on closed session agenda topics.
The board went into closed session and discussed superintendent evaluation and took no action. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Garza. At this time, the board will be adjourned at 10:01 p.m. until the regular board meeting to be held Thursday, December 12th, 2024. Good night.